and you'll give them the price. Then once you get to the price and they're like, I don't know if that price, if you can't sweeten it with price, you can sweeten it with the terms. And that's what I'm giving them at the end of the term. So that's why I hold out the terms, because let's say I said 250. He was like, I don't know, I can't really do 250. And this has happened before. And I'll say, okay, what if we can do 250 all cash as is, and we'll take care of all the closing costs and fees? Because a lot of times when people thinking about the number, they don't know, they could be thinking about, okay, I got to factor in the closing costs. I got to factor in this, and that, right? And so you might say the number, and you're talking numbers, and they're thinking that they have to pay the closing costs or whatever. But it'll just, again, sometimes you can't sweeten it with the deal. And I'm kind of thinking like in the long term, how to box the seller in once we get down to that point where we talk the numbers. And that's how my whole conversation is set up from the beginning to the end, is to get all the information that I need from them. And little stuff like when I asked them, are there any other decision makers on this? Is it just you or your wife or something like that? I didn't ask him that just to get the answer. I asked him that so that way, once we get to the end of the call, he can't pull out, oh, well, I need to talk to my wife. I already asked you up front. You see what I'm saying? So I do, the way I set mine up is kind of intentional. I'm kind of like, basically I'm playing chess with them, and I'm asking them certain questions leading up to the price point. And I always start with building rapport with the person instead of just going straight for the number. Because if you're talking numbers and you ain't built rapport, then they're not going to take you seriously. Yeah, you get your foot in the door faster, but then once you're actually in there, you don't have much wiggle room or no direction to go with that. But once you built rapport and then kind of start getting the info. So I this is how I teach my VAs: build rapport just so you can get all of the information out of them. And then they'll just be running their mouth. Oh yeah, this and that. They'll tell you about the flushing stuff down the toilet, flushing stuff down the drain. And then when you get to the end of the call, you get to use that. I don't want to say against them, but it helps you to get the number that you want when you're really negotiating. But don't waste too much time though. Like Johnny said, you do want to get to some numbers, and you really want to, open the door.
I love this just because Cordero is so right with everything he says. But me and him, I feel like are polar opposites on the phone. Like he's more of the nice guy, and I'm more of the, hey, give me a number, let's go. But also too, when he talks about building rapport, that's the number one thing. Build rapport, because people do business with people, right? Not because you're willing to give a number, it's because they like you and because you built a relationship with them. So I think rapport is the number one thing that you build on the phone. Other than anything else, if you have a good relationship with them, then they're gonna do business with you. So
how do you build rapport on the phone? Like, what are some of your favorite ways to build rapport on the phone?
It's Great just question. However the conversation goes, right? So I don't have a specific way or, I'm gonna ask them A, B, C, and D. It just really depends on how it goes. Like if I'm talking to a tired landlord and they're like, yeah, I'm renting it right now. Oh, well, how many rentals do you have? How long have you been renting?
So by asking probing questions.
Absolutely.
That's a technique.
Asking them questions about what they're telling me they do. That's my build rapport. Like I don't have questions that I go through. I just pick up on whatever you're telling me, and I try to make you talk about it more. Aside from this house that we're talking about, what are you doing in your personal life that could give me information and insight into you as a person that I can use in further along down the conversation?
Asking probing questions, that's the big one. And so those are questions that are not in your script, but you saw the opportunity that the seller gave to you, and you're going to use that to take advantage of it. And if you're like somebody like Johnny or like myself or LT, you're good with talking with people. So naturally, you'll see that opportunity and bite into it. Another way to build rapport is, and we all know this one, and I'm sure Johnny does this, tonality, mirroring their tonality at the top of the call. First 30 seconds, if they come on and it's, oh, hey, I can't hear you. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Cordero. I'm talking soft. But if it's, yeah, hi, who is this? Hey, yeah, this is Cordero. Even if it's a disgruntled customer or a seller, people would think you don't need to mirror that, but it works the same. And they're like, what do you want? I'm like, well, I just called about your property. I'm not being rude to them, but I am being just as sharp and direct as they're talking. Mirroring tonality is another way. Probing questions, that's another way. LT, do you have any ways that you build rapport with people when you talk to them?
I kind of do a hybrid of both, which I was saying, like kind of based on where the conversation is going. like the last one we did, like they
Mhm.
might say something and it might trigger me to just kind of like just ask one open-ended question about whatever they just said. And then I could take that and then I'll just like store it in the back and then try to keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? Or I might go in there and just I might talk about myself. Like that's something I like to do a lot. When I'm
Share.
talking to, yeah, if
Yeah.
I'm talking to like not to be, whatever, but sometimes if I'm talking to women, like I'll talk about myself most of the time, but like almost in like not clowning myself, but like just in like in a fun type of way. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
to kind of get them to kind of lower their guards a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great way. And I call it being transparent with the seller. And as you can see, and I know Johnny's like, speed it up, get direct to the point. But on my call, it was probably a little bit longer because every time I would ask a question, he would answer it. And before I went into the next question, I would share or just be like, personable with him. Yeah, man, I understand. I worked in property management a couple of years back, and I
Right.
know.
I caught that.
And
I
that's a
caught
true
that.
story. That's real. I didn't just pull that, out of nowhere. That's true. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, yeah, I know you're probably dealing with a lot. Before you go to the next question, share or acknowledge. It's called empathy and acknowledgement. I learned that from working at the call center. Yeah, that's another way. But yeah, those are a few ways that you could build rapport. But definitely rapport building is a key. Also, our Thomas, you're gonna go. There are 4 things. If somebody ever calls you and you're talking to them, but you don't have a script pulled up, there are 4 things that you need to get from every call. 4 things. Do y'all know what that is?
Yeah.
Let me guess.
I'm sure you know. I'm sure
Damn.
Johnny
Okay. Never
knows.
mind. I'll take it back. I'll take it back.
But
You know,
do you
you,
know, LT?
I think I know, but I want to see if somebody else knows.
Nah, go ahead.
um, I'm going for the condition of the property, the timeline, the motivation, and the price.
yeah.
Exactly. Those 4 things. So if you're ever like, dang, what do I say? You just, because that's the difference between using a GPS. A GPS will give you step-by-step directions. Our script is going to tell you word for word what to say, but a compass is going to give you general direction. And so those 4 things can be your compass. And so price, time, motivation, condition. Think about that. When you're on a call, like, dang, what do I say? Well, I know I need to figure out what the condition of the property is. I know I need to figure out why they want to sell, which is the motivation. And I know I need to figure out when that they're looking to do this. Is this a 30-day thing? I need to do this in 14 days or just like in 6 months? They don't really care. And then what is it? Price. How much do they want for it? What range are they in? So price, time, motivation, condition. If you don't know what to say, just think of those 4 things every time.
Okay. Those will guide you in the right way for a conversation. If you just mold your whole conversation around those 4 pillars, you'll be completely fine. And the more you start calling people, the more comfortable you'll get. Like I can kind of tell you weren't real comfortable yet, but the more you call, the more. I was telling he left now. He was in here. Eduardo, I think was his name.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but he called me earlier today, and he was trying to cop a deal, and I told him I was like,
Or
hey,
Ricardo.
yeah, Ricardo.
Yeah.
I was like, have you called them yet? And he said no. So I stopped. I'm like, man, we're not comping nothing until you pick up the phone and call them. Like, don't waste time on doing that comp until you call them. So he has to get over that fear. So I was telling him, hey, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna do it wrong many, many times. But the only way to get better is to pick up that phone and start dialing. So now you know
Yeah.
those 4 pillars, bro. Pick up the phone and start dialing. But
See, the main reason I froze up was because we've been calling up foreclosures, and that's like a much more guided type of conversation, and the seller would honestly just start pouring out information before you even ask them, and they'll pretty much give you everything you need before you even have to ask.
that is true. Like people who are in foreclosure, they tell you everything. They either tell you everything or tell you nothing at all. One of the two. One of
That's
the
what's up.
two.
But
That's
Cordero, I had one more question for you.
Uh-huh.
I noticed you were like very upfront about that you're kind of the middleman, that you have investors that they'll be buying the property. Does that tend to work better for you than acting like you're the buyer?
That's a good question, man. And again, that's another one of those chess moves. I haven't had anybody give me any objection to it yet, and I'm just transparent. And it works better for me in the beginning, yeah, in that conversation. But as the deal progresses, it works better and better for me. Because what you're going to realize is, like I said, I showed you in my podio, is figuring out the lead, getting out the contract, getting out to a buyer, getting them in the contract, and then the transactional coordination part. Once you have your buyer under contract and getting to the closing table, you're going to have to work back and forth with the seller, the buyer, and the closing attorney and figure all these things. And when you're trying to pretend like you're somebody you're not in that process, it's a headache and it stresses you out. And so as you get, and once they know, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just tell them. As a matter of fact, I go out on properties to look at them sometimes now. It just depends on the situation, but I just send my buyer right out to the property. You want to buy it, go look at it. And then sometimes the buyer and the seller got each other's phone number and we're all talking together. I'm like, hey, this is my partner on the deal. And it just makes it, the whole transaction as a whole, a lot easier for me. And it takes a lot of pressure off me. And also, if I do a straightforward assignment as opposed to a double close, and they see like, what's this $10,000 fee on here? They know, I already tell them, and I charge my buyers a fee. So the person, they're never shocked. They don't pull back out of a deal. I used to have that stuff happen to me all the time. It doesn't happen. So yeah, it does work better for me, but not just in the conversation. It also works better for me for the whole transaction.
And getting
Looking
to
out
the
for the future.
getting to the closing table, like he said, and the seller sees an extra $10,000, $20,000 of a fee, they're like, what is this? If he's already been open and upfront with them, then that doesn't surprise them. They can expect that. So that like Cordero doing that kind of taught me, like when I first got into it, I was the buyer, and that bit me a couple of times. You know, like I just watched some YouTube videos and dove in, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're the buyer, you're the buyer, you're the buyer." I kind of switched it up a little bit now they know like my partner is the buyer, and I'm just bringing the deal to them. And like Cordero said, that kind of tends to work a little bit better.
Absolutely. But how it does help you on that conversation too, as you can see, is when me and LT got to the end, he was just like, well, what's your number? What's your number? I never threw him out a number because I said, well, I got to get it over to my investors and then we can get back to you. And so that's how I can kind of put the pressure on him. But what it is if you work for a car dealership, they'll say they'll say
finance manager.
My finance manager, my underwriter, my partner. That's who. And as you go through the deal,
Or the sales manager.
Exactly. If you got to tell them no, or if you got to say something, or you got to come back and ask for a price reduction, or if you got to do anything, it's not me asking you, my finance manager, right? And so sellers do this exact same thing when they pull out, oh, I got to talk to my wife. You'll get so deep, you'll be about ready to get down on one knee and marry the seller. And they're like, oh, I got to talk to my wife. Like, you don't got so deep into the conversation. Wait, I got to talk to my wife. And so they're really using that as a cop-out to buy themselves more time to think or whatever. And it's just a negotiating strategy. And when you do that, you give yourself that same negotiating strategy. Once they try to pigeonhole you, you can be like, okay, well, let me run this by my finance manager and we'll see. So that way that gives you time to get off the phone. And then also, here's another benefit of that is you're talking and you're just a representative of the company when you position yourself like this. And so if they ever ask you a question, especially you being new, when they ask you a question you don't know the answer to, then it's okay that you don't know the answer because you're not the buyer. A buyer would know the answer. But if you're like, never say, I don't know. Just say, that's a good question. Let me reach out to my finance manager. And when we circle back with you tomorrow, I'll be sure that I have the answer to you on that. So that way you'll never kind of get pigeonholed and they ask you a question. So yeah, that being upfront with them about that, it has so much more value than just one. So definitely, I would recommend you guys trying that.
And also just to bounce off that, like one technique that I use is we've already talked once, so I'm coming to bring an offer for them the second time. And their price that they gave me is way high. I'll get on the phone and be like, man, my partner, he always wants to get prices real low. So he wanted to get this one for like 150, but I know he's crazy. Just so the seller can react like, oh, 150, I wouldn't do that. Well, I know you're at 210. Would you kind of come up a little bit just so my finance manager doesn't get mad at me, my partner doesn't get mad at me for this? So I kind of leverage somebody else. So they get mad at somebody else instead of me.
Exactly.
So I act like I'm still on their team by pointing the finger at somebody else, even though it's
Right.
me the whole time, you know.
Yeah, that's a bit. I've actually used that one a lot. Like he wanted to be at 150, but can you meet us at 170? You know what I mean? Something like that. And I know LT's used that a couple of times at the car dealership, man.
What? I'm in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking like how there's a strategy I used to use where I would when people would come in and they'd be like, because some people that are experienced know the game. They know you got to go talk to the manager. They know you got to run back and forth. So what I used to do is I used to basically ask them, okay, what is their price? Write their price down, write the MSRP, whatever we're selling it for. And then I'm like, listen, my job is to kind of get y'all to me in the middle. So I would basically write a whole bunch, like say if it was 30,000, I would put 29,000, 28,000, 20, but not exactly. And I would cross all those numbers out and I'd be like, hey, Mr. Sell this. So this is what I'm gonna do, right? I know that you want to be at 25. We both know he gonna try to come back at 30. So let me go up there and make it look like I worked you a little bit, but you were like, you know what? Nah, this 25 is really where it's at. And then that way we could lowball and offer him something because we know he gonna come back. So when he could counter closer to your 25. Kind of something like that. That's how I used, that was a technique selling used cars. I mean, it worked a lot.
That's cool because I know y'all probably hearing that, just hearing like the car aspect of it. But because I've been in real estate so long, I'm thinking about how to translate that onto
That's what I'm thinking about. How do I
Like,
translate that to a call? Like, man, how do I do that with the price? But
you can't write it down for them and actually have a visual, but you can say,
Right.
man, we were at this. But basically what Johnny just said, that's how you do it, really. That's the best way that you'll be able to do that. Is like my finance manager want to be at, 135. Let's say they're like 180, and my finance manager wants to be at 135, and I didn't want to, do them like that, but I'm not going to do you like that. I think we can come around, be at 145. We can take care of you all cash, all closing costs, et cetera, et cetera. It's something like that. Man, y'all cold.
I'd even like throw out look, my partner would kill me if I locked it up for the price that you're at. I just to keep that from happening, I really want to work with you and get as close to your price. Could we go like 150 maybe? Like just kind of playing the game with them like that. And that sometimes works for me. Now I'm no seasoned vet like Cordero, but those are kind of the techniques that have worked for me so far.
Yeah, that's where it's worked for me too. The only difference between you and me is time. And so and for y'all too, is like, just keep doing it. Just start and don't stop. And then that's it.
See, I was go ahead, LT, what'd you say?
No, I think that was Nate. I think one of them,
Oh.
when y'all said something, right?
I was just saying that was awesome. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. So y'all, Nate and Thomas, y'all haven't done a deal yet?
No, we haven't.
Are y'all partners though? Like y'all partners, y'all got your own thing.
Our partners, we're working together, trying to learn together.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Okay. Yeah, y'all really in it, man. I want to see. Do y'all still want to try to squeeze in that the cold call? Do y'all see if y'all can do it, or what do you think?
Good. You want to go?
Yeah, let's go for it.
You want to be a buyer?
Yeah.
Can I help you through it? Smooth. All right, ring, 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 ring. Hello?
Hold on, bro. Give me 1 second. 1 second.
No, take your time, man.
Wrap my head around this.
What are the 4 things? Just them 4 things.
Motivation, condition, timeline, and price.
Yeah. And like I usually start mine. This is straight from my script. This is Johnny. I know this calls out of the blue. I usually don't say that, but I know this calls out the blue. But I was calling about a property I believe you own on 123 Main Street. Yes. If they say yes, or how much is it? How much do you want for it? I just go into, would you consider an offer for that property? Just like that.
Okay.
Now I know you're more seasoned with foreclosures, but try this route a little bit. Because I can tell you, in a few months, y'all as a team, y'all are gonna crush it with foreclosures, and then you're gonna move to bigger and better things because foreclosures is a headache.
Oh yeah.
But go ahead. So ring, 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 ring. Hello.
Hey, is this Johnny?
Yes, this is him.
My name's Thomas. I was calling about your property on 123 Main Street. Is that correct?
Yeah, I own that one.
All right. Uh, I was just wanting to see if you wanted to take a cash offer on that.
I mean, yeah, I'm actually looking to sell it. So, what kind of price can you give me?
I actually wanted to see if I could get some information about it. Um, what kind of condition is the property in? Is it pretty fixed up or need some work?
It needs a lot of work, man. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I just had a renter in there. It's been vacant for about 2 years, and I just haven't got down to fix it up. I haven't put a new renter in it either because it needs some work.
Okay.
So it definitely needs some work. So I definitely take a offer for it if you come with the right price.
All right. Is it interior work or are we talking like the roof,
There's a new HVAC. The roof needs to be updated, and the whole inside needs to be updated as well.
gotcha. I know you said you're trying to sell it. Are you in any hurry on that?
I mean, it's been vacant for about 2 years, so I mean, the sooner the better if I get a price I want.
Okay, okay. Um, see, bro, what price are you thinking? Is there a ballpark you want to be in?
I mean, I'm thinking about 200 grand. And the
200.
ARV is 250. I forgot to set that. Sorry. So 250
Okay,
is the ARV.
okay.
So yeah,
So
about 200.
200. Okay. Um, I definitely have to run that by my partner.
Now you're
Give me one
good.
second. One second.
So I just told you that, I want 200 for it. Now it's vacant, it isn't rented right now. So ask a question, try to build some rapport based off those questions. Because we haven't built any rapport yet. So after you offer me like I give you the price 200, okay, 200, let me run that by my finance manager. But in the meantime, why has it been vacant for so long? What's going on? Just to kind of dig into my situation.
Okay, okay. So, can I ask you why the property's been vacant so long?
I had
After those,
my niece in there, and when she left it in shambles, and it needed some work to rent out again. And I really don't have the time to get down there. It's about 2 hours away, and I don't have time to get down there and fix it up. So I just kind of left it how it is.
I see, I see. So you're not really looking to build or repair or nothing.
Yeah,
So obviously we could kind of help you out with that.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we could push things through for you and speed up the process. Um, so
Okay,
yeah.
okay, so you're gonna speed up the process. Now, like so you got the condition, you got the motivation, you don't have the timeline yet, right? So your next question should be towards that timeline. Hey, listen, when are you trying to sell this property? When are you trying to get out? Oh wait, you did say that, didn't you?
I did ask you about.
Okay, so you got all four, right? So now start telling me about the benefits.
Okay. So what we can do is actually, once I get in contact with my partner and get everything figured out, we could actually handle the closing costs for you. You wouldn't have to deal with any repairs to get that property sold. It's an all cash offer.
What
And
number would you be at?
like I said, I'm gonna have to run it by my partner, but I'm thinking he is the low baller, so I shouldn't say low baller, but he's the tough guy, so we're probably gonna be coming in around 150 if I had to guess.
All right, a little suggestion. And
Yeah.
you guys who are listening to, bounce off this if you can. You don't say, oh, we'll probably be at 150, because then his expectations are like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this guy. Just say that, hey, I'm gonna talk to my finance manager and we're gonna get a number for you. and we're gonna get back to you, and then set a date to get back to us. You don't want to throw out that price because now in my head I'm thinking that that's what it's gonna be when you haven't even spoken to anybody, so you don't know, nor have you looked up the property. So you don't know around where you're gonna be at. What if you say 150 and your max is 130? Now
Right.
you come in at that low price, and now I'm like, yeah, I'm not dealing at all with this guy.
So you don't really want to give them a number until you come in on the second call to follow up.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
I ain't gonna lie, man. You doing really good on this call, to tell the truth. I've heard calls like upfront and personal where like it was really with a seller and it was really with a deal, and it sounded a lot like this. Like, is if y'all get in the dialer or just start calling people, this very conversation you having could come up. And if the ARV is 250 and he's asking 200 and it's vacant, I know a buyer who will buy that right now. I got a buyer who will buy that for sure. You know what I mean? And so if you know the ARV, and that's what Johnny's saying, that's a really good tip. If you just like brand new and numbers are just confusing to you, don't just start throwing out numbers, for sure not. But if you know, like what we always use as a good rule of thumb, we'll use the Zestimate. Now Zillow be all over the place as far as its accuracy, but it does give you kind of a ballpark. So let's assume that the Zestimate was 250 and they said 200. At least you can see that this person's starting off with some sort of a discount. And if you get them at 150, then that's $100,000 spread. That, you know, that's relatively close. But you can, like Johnny said, you can put yourself in an uncomfortable position by doing that. Now, I would say this, as long as you're building rapport, I have done it sometime where I will throw out a number like kind of like you did, but like my partner, I think they might be around this range. They might be a little bit around here just to see what that seller would say. But again, you have to, it's all about wording. The way you said it, yeah, he's going to be a tough guy. He might want to be around 150, but don't say we're going to do 150. I think our number is 150. Say he might be around 150 if it needs all of this work that you're saying, but it really just depends on how much work it needs. But, you know, we may be able to make that 200 work as well. So let me talk with my partner and just see, does that sound like something you'd be interested in? And always put the ball back in their court.
You see how he gave you see how he gave a range from 150 to 200? Like that's a $50,000 difference. So I have no idea where he'll be in that slider. He gave a big range. So if you are going to give a number, I think you should give a big range. Yeah,
basically I'm being vague with them kind of intentionally just to appease them, but I'm being vague at the end of the day. But I will kind of see, because if I say 150 and I'll be like, cause you need this, and then they be like, and they're not pushing me away, then I'm like, hold on, we might got some, we might got a bite, real talk. So you gotta think about it like that, but it's about how you say it, and you don't want to say the wrong thing and completely push them away from you, like Johnny said. So you got to be within a comfortable range, give them a range, but let them know you don't know yet until you talk with your seller. And I like how you stood your ground, stand your ground. So what's your number? Because most of these people, they're going to ask you for a price 2 or 3 times while you're on the phone, minimum. They're going to keep asking you to give them a price, keep asking you. Just say, again, as no matter how many times you got to repeat it. Again, I got to go to, I'm just the worker. I just got to go talk with my partner, or I'm just the guy who, you know, kind of talks with the people. I'm the acquisitions manager, and I got to go confirm with my purchase manager or something, like whatever it is. You come up with a title and stick with it. And anytime they ask you a question, answer their question and then ask them another question. You have to do that. What's your price? Well, I got to go talk with my partner just to confirm that. I mean, did you have a price that you would like us to be in? Anytime they ask you a question, answer it, and then, because otherwise they'll continue to ask you questions, and whoever's asking the question is in charge, and whoever's answering the question is the follower. So never let it swap on you. You know what I mean? That's a good rule of thumb.
Sir.
What he's saying is completely true, and that's something that I struggle with. I answer a question and then I kind of don't ask another question. So that is something that I know that's something that I need to work on. And you guys just starting out, if you guys can get that ingrained in your brains now, then these calls are going to go so smooth for you guys. You guys are going to kill it on the phones with that. Just that, because that establishes that you're the leader. I'm the person who's dominating this phone call, not you. So I'm going to ask the questions, and I'm going to get you going. And
it's just all about kind of being smooth with it. And even if your answer is, like I said, never say, I don't know. But even if your answer is like you said, that's a good question. I will have to talk with my partner, or like I said, I do have to talk with my partner with it. But did you have a price in mind? Or like you said, I do have to talk with my partner with it, just to confirm and see what he's looking, what he would like to be at. But did you have a timeline that you wanted to close within? It could be a question that has something to do with what they asked you, or it could be a totally different question. Just make sure you answer their question and smoothly transition into the next question without letting them ask you another question. And that right there, you're gonna be Tom Brady. You're gonna dominate.
Absolutely. Ashley, you alive? We ain't heard nothing from you.
I appreciate you guys, but
Absolutely.
That was all fire advice. And as much as I wanted to jump in, I'm just sitting here soaking it up because it's all facts.
Jump in, LJ.
No, it's
Yo,
facts.
Tim.
I'm listening.
let
I'm
me
listening.
know, man.
No, I'm listening, and it's all great. Yeah, if Johnny and Cordero just want to go, I'm gonna just let them go. I'm not gonna step in.
Man, I'm telling you, and I'm just that type of person, and I can off the muscle, I can see that Johnny's that type of person. You just kind of want to help people and just give what you know or share what you know. And I'm definitely that type of person, but at the same time, like in this group or whatever group that I'm involved in, it's like I'll give whatever information that I know. Y'all can hit me up anytime. Y'all got my info. But the more y'all do better, then the better I do. Because you got to think about this. Birds of a feather flock together. So let's say y'all was all making $1 million a year in wholesaling, and I hang out with y'all, then where does that put me? You know what I mean? So I'm just going to naturally give y'all the game. I really want y'all to improve. I really want y'all to be doing better. And if it's working for me, and if it's worked for me in the past, then it's yours. You can have it. You know what I mean? So that way I know, because at some point, like I'll be able to ask Johnny, I'll be able to ask y'all. So for example, Nate and Thomas, how are y'all finding y'all foreclosure leads? How do y'all come across y'all foreclosure leads?
We usually go on either auction.com or something that Johnny had actually put us up on is we have public notices, which they post all the trustee sales and all those kind of things. Otherwise, we actually use Batch Lead, which is pretty much like PropStream.
Right.
And they have like a list of all pre-foreclosures, but sometimes that's inaccurate or old information.
A lot of it, but
And this is something that I learned, and Johnny really just kind of confirmed it for me. But I learned this a long time ago. The more difficult it is to get the information, like if you go on PropStream and all that, everybody can get access to that. But if it's difficult to get the information, you got to jump through several hoops. You got to physically go to the county courthouse or something like that. Then that's the more, how would you say, the more potent.
The road less traveled. Yeah.
Yeah, the road less traveled, man. That list is going to be like, that you're going to call people every day. Most of the people you're going to call, like, people keep calling me. That's going to be normal. But if you got to go physically to the courthouse, some of the people, they're going to be like, nobody's calling me about this property, but it's been vacant for 3 years. I'm like, what? I just got me one. I'm like, that's a bite. You know what I mean? So whatever the hardest way to get the lease is, the better. But yeah, you said auction.com?
Yeah. Auction.com has a bunch of, basically it shows the auction date, which is something that we learned from Johnny as well, like to mention the auction date. And it kind of gives us a lot of good listings, basically.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
I've never used auction.com. Do they tell you like the trustee date and they give you the address and then you guys just skip trace that name?
Absolutely. Yeah, it gives us the auction date, gives the address, a picture of it, all the like 3-bed, 2-bath, whatever. And then we basically just put that in the batch leads to get all the rest of the information on the property that we want.
Okay. Yeah,
My
that's
point
exactly.
Wait, hold on, time out. How many leads can y'all, like, how many leads do y'all get from that?
It's really just like, it's a giant list of just property after property after property. And you can do, say you don't want to get like a foreclosure that's like the date's really close. You just go a little bit further out in the
filter it out?
schedule. Yeah, you can go a little bit further out in the schedule, maybe to like the newer ones that were listed. And it's really just, this is just a giant list that's just right there in front of your face of address, auction date, just all the information you need, basically.
Yeah. And if you ever see like a sign in the yard that say auction, it'll say auction.com at the top of it. Just because you said that, that rung a bell in my head. But like I was saying, it doesn't matter if you're brand new or you're the vet, you know, we could all learn something from each other. That's why I'm gonna continue to feed y'all what I know. But another way, and I didn't mention this to you guys, Nate and Thomas, is because the reason why I'll say I'm transparent with the seller up front is like, yeah, I work with the team because I'll go find the buyer first. I do what's called the reverse wholesaling strategy. But as you wholesale, you just kind of run into buyers that you'll just put into your list that you work with all the time anyway. So one or the other is when you establish that you already got some buyers and you know what they're looking for. And going to auction.com, looking at the properties that have sold at auction.com, and then you could just basically look it up on PropStream or wherever and figure out who bought that. Once you figure out who bought that, that is a cash buyer. And then I would recommend reaching out to the cash buyers, say, hey, you know, are you looking for any more deals? Would you mind if I brought you over some more deals? What are you looking for, et cetera, right? Because all the people who buy properties on auction or at the auctions, those are legit cash buyers. Those are people who are buying now.
And just to
Yeah.
kind of just to bounce off that, I called a lady in Knoxville, Tennessee, whose house was in foreclosure probably 3 weeks ago. And she was working with an agency to stop the auction. She didn't want to sell her house. So I just kind of let her go. And she called me the day before the auction and was trying to get through to these people. So I said, you know what, I'll help her. It was an older lady. She just needed help. So I was like, I'll help you get them on the phone. So I get them on the phone and they couldn't do anything. So her house foreclosed the next day. Well, she's still getting texts from the people that she gave $400 to stop the auction. She's still getting texts from them saying, hey, we need another $400. But that same day, she got a knock on the door from the person who bought it at the auction. So me, her, and that guy who knocked on the door got on the phone. And I saved his contact because he three-wayed us in. And I saved his contact. And after all three of us got done on the phone, I gave him a call. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm a local wholesaler. I have run across some properties in the area. Do you mind if I bring them to you? And he was like, oh, absolutely. I'm always looking, blah, blah, blah. So those ones, like Cordell was saying, those ones who buy at an auction, they're the cash buyers and they're perfect to target.
For sure. Because you got to think, if you go to an auction, you got to have the money ready right there. There's no, ain't no line of credit, no HELOC. You got to have cash. You know what I mean? And so if they bought an auction property, then these are people, and also the people who buy an auction, they have to, for the most part, they get to buy it sight unseen. Now, sometimes you could go like the day before, you can schedule an appointment to walk it real quick. And then you can like before the actual auction happens. But a lot of them is just like, you don't get to see it or nothing. And especially if they bought it online, they never got to see it. And so if somebody's willing to pay all cash for something that they won't see, if you bring them a smoking hot deal, they're going to be ready to go. They're going to be ready to go. And it's less hoops you got to jump through because if the seller's like picky, you like, man, I can't get you in here. You can't walk this one, but you know, I can get you some picks. That person will be ready to go. You know what I mean? So those are definitely good buyers. I recommend reaching out to them.
Have you guys reached out to any buyers in your market that you're working in? Have you talked to anybody?
Yeah, we kind of went on like Facebook Marketplace and kind of said, hey, we're looking for cash buyers in this area. And we've also got like a couple like, hey, put me on your buyers list, whatever, ask them what their buy box is, etc. There's only been a few, but that's definitely something that we would look at is those auction sales. We'll definitely take a look at that and kind of build up our buyers list.
Do you guys have a local RIA by any chance?
We do. We have not been to it yet, but we are definitely looking to go.
Yeah, you guys definitely go. Get real dapper, go in and, you know, tell everybody like, hey, I'm brand new to wholesaling and I promise you, people are gonna flock and try to help you. Because I went my first time at a RIA, I had no business cards, I had nothing but a nice shirt. And I met so many cash buyers there just by walking up to everybody I saw and introducing myself. So you guys do the same and you guys will run into a whole bunch of cash buyers in your market.
Yeah. What was I gonna ask you? Oh, I remember you were telling us to actually look at the comps and the people that bought those houses to find buyers. And
Yeah.
we were just kind of struggling to like with the process of getting their information.
So is it like a business or an actual person?
I
Like,
think it was a business.
yeah, LLCs are tricky. The way that I go about it is I go to bizpedia.com and I just
Biz-
put the LLC and then I put the state and then I would say probably 7 times out of 10 they have a registered agent name and I just call that registered agent name because they're usually the ones who own that LLC. I've also run into some situations where there's no registered agent or that owner of the LLC is smart and wants to remain anonymous, so there won't be a registered agent. If I see that, then I just kind of skip over it. I don't do too much work digging in to try to get that. What do you guys think about finding a business though? Do you guys have any techniques?
Yeah, one I got is whether it's a business or even if it's just an individual person, and you're looking at the properties that have sold in that area. What I would recommend is, first of all, looking for the flips. So any property that you're trying to comp, don't just look at all properties that are sold because you don't want to run into like it's a family that sold their property to move. You're looking for properties that look like they've been flipped. You're just going to have the LVP, the new paint. You could tell by the pictures. And so if they did that, that means that they bought it, however they bought it, they flipped it, and then they sold it with a realtor. And that realtor's information is always going to be public, whether it's on Zillow, PropStream, that's going to be readily available for you. So instead of trying to look it up and calling directly to that person, call the realtor that they were working with and say, hey, I saw you were working with, or it looked like somebody flipped this property. Were you working with an investor on that? And then let them tell you. And I think I mentioned this last time too, because the double benefit of that is, one, you'll get, I work with my investor. And so that realtor will be ready to help you, because if they can bring that investor another property, they'll get paid by that realtor. They'll get paid by that investor, by the buyer. And then when that buyer flips it and lists it again, that realtor will get paid a second time on one deal that you brought them. And then two, that realtor, if they work with one investor, they probably work with a whole bunch of investors. And so by calling that realtor and saying, hey, are you working with an investor? Even if that investor doesn't want it, they probably have a lot of other people who might be interested. And so that's the benefit of working with realtors. And I just, I've worked with realtors before. You just get a lot of benefit out of it. They always bring me buyers. And so if you can't find the LLC, or like I said, even if it's LLC or individual period, just call the realtor that was worked with on that deal, and you'll get a lot of benefit out of that one for sure.
The kind of simple steps that I like to do is, you guys use bats. I don't use bats. I use PropStream, but it's pretty much the same thing. If they have a comp section, just hit the comps on that, filter it how you need. And then I would go to the most recent sale at the highest price. And then I'll put that in the Zillow and see if it looks like a flip. If it looks like a flip, then I'm instantly calling that agent and doing the same thing that Cordero said. Seeing if, hey, are you working with an investor? Did an investor do this? You guys did a great job. And then they'll refer them to you, or I'll reach out to them and have them call you, or however that process is. That is how I do it. I comp the property and see the highest one that sold within a month or two, and I'll take that and put it in the Zillow. And if it looks like a flip, then I'll call.
Yeah, because what'll happen is you'll tell them, and then they'll be like, send me over the details. You can send them over the details. They'll let you know whatever their investor needs. Can we walk it or whatever? And they will send you an offer. So the realtor will send you over like a official offer, like a purchase agreement or whatever. So you can rebuttal, you can say yay or nay, whatever. Just go back and forth with them. You get the price, and then you can go ahead, sign, get it locked up. Usually when I work with the realtor in a situation like that, then I'm automatically going to do a double close. You don't have to, but I'm just going to do a double close. And this is something big to keep in mind. If you're going to go ahead with use the realtor strategy, nobody told me this, but you got to notice a lot of realtors don't want to work with wholesalers. A lot of realtors come off the rip with an attitude. And so this is a rule of thumb. This is something big. If they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to talk to you. Move on to the next person. And I think we kind of may get wrapped up in the process of A, doing one deal, and B, working with one buyer or just working with one person. No, that's why I'm telling you, I read the 10X rule, because then you'll realize if that one say no, call them one literally the house next door. And you'd be like, wow, how are y'all so close to each other, but so different personalities? How are y'all? Y'all just did a deal on the same street, but that guy was a jerk and you're ready to work with me. Because some people about their money and some people just no. You know what I mean? The realtor that's really a hustler trying to get their bread, just like you trying to get your bread, they will be more than happy to work with you. Make sure you find those realtors and you work with those realtors,
And
right?
when you find them, hold on to them.
Find them, hold on.
Because the experiences I've had with realtors is, I'm sorry to say, but they lazy. You know what I'm saying? They expect you to just like have everything on a silver platter for them, and they don't want to do nothing. So it's like if you find one that's a go-getter that's hungry like that, you'll know it, and y'all definitely will hit it off for sure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a big fan of agents. I've
How many
spent
have you talked to?
well over 100, well over.
10x.
And
Oh,
I'm even
that's all
talking about
fun.
my personal experience too, like in me trying to rent a house
Yeah.
and buy a house, like just in dealing with them as a from a buyer standpoint, I was
Gotta
super
be-
frustrated.
You got a point.
So I can only imagine like what the wholesale's got to go through, because they don't have time for you. They don't want to talk to you.
I feel like in that space, the realtor either loves wholesalers or they despise them. I don't think there's a sliding scale. I've ran into some that love wholesalers and love the business. And I had one property under contract, and I called a lady who who sold to a flipper one time, and I was like, "Hey, I have a property under contract. Are you working with blah blah blah?" And she was like, "Yeah, I don't deal with that." Click. I was like, "Dang."
Yeah, if they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to talk to you. And that's exactly what he's saying. Either they love it or they don't. And you can find one who just doesn't love it. And you think, oh, dang, realtors, it just doesn't work calling realtors. No, it was that realtor. It's like, we're men. We've probably all, with the exception of Ashley, with all due respect, but we've probably all been, and my man LT's married and everything at this point, we've all probably been extremely disrespected by a woman at some point. Just for saying, hey, what's going, and then she's like basically spits on you. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm gonna ask. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then you find a girl that's feeling you, and it's like, this is the one I'm gonna deal with, the ones that's feeling me, and I'm feeling them, and we're gonna kind of go that way. And I'm not gonna keep dealing with the ones that's just trying to like too big-headed about themselves. And a lot of the realtors, it's not even that they're lazy. They just think of themselves as super duper important. Like, oh, I'm the best realtor at my brokerage, so how dare you call me with the deal? It's like, what? You ever I had a realtor tell me, I said, would you be interested in me bringing you some more listings? He was like, no, we're good. You wouldn't be interested in me bringing you a deal?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be interested
Right.
in me bringing you some money? What are you talking about? That's literally dumb. You're just a jerk at that point. You're just very rude. And so we've all kind of dealt with it. And so don't think that doesn't mean that girls or women are the problem. It was that one that you was talking to, that one in particular, because there's one over here that's super cool, smooth. We vibe with each other. And some realtors, like Johnny said, just like the business. And then you're like, okay, let's rock with that one. Rock with people who rock with you, basically.
That's a perfect analogy, and it goes way beyond realtors. Every single seller you talk to, that is the analogy for it. Is a girl, because some of them are gonna spit in your face, and some are gonna fall in love with you. That's exactly what it is. Don't waste your time chasing the one who's spitting on you, because it's a waste of your time, right? You know how Cordero said, like when he was on the call with LT earlier, once LT kind of wasn't motivated, he was like, man, I would have hung up and been on to the next. Like, I don't really got time to be trying to massage people, right? The biggest thing that I even heard in all the YouTube videos was you cannot convince a seller to sell their property. You can only help them. That's it. There's nothing you can say that will convince them to do anything. You can only help guide the process. So once I heard that, once I hear that somebody is not motivated at all, then I put them in my CRM to call back in 6 months, and I'm off the phone and on to the next. I don't have time. I don't have time to sit here and talk to you.
Yeah, that's not our job. Don't think of it. And then also on the flip side of that, especially y'all just starting out, don't think it was something you did or didn't do that caused that person to not want to sell. If they was motivated, you could be stuttering on the phone and they'll still sell you the house. Trust me. If they're genuinely motivated, if you found the right one, then it's not just all you. You didn't ruin that deal. And if they got off the phone and was just rude to you, it wasn't because it was you, bro. Trust me. You'll think of that in the beginning, but then I realized, like, nah, because it's not our job to convince people. That's why I recommend getting a dialer at first. I would even recommend text blasting, but that's a little bit more expensive. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be throwing your money away. And so get a dialer at first. So that way, because it is a numbers game, it's not about trying to convince each person you talk to. It's about talking to enough people until you find the right girl that's cute enough and nice enough and cool enough. And then you ask her out on a date. Pretty much. That's
a perfect analogy, bro. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah.
That's the sum total of it. Ashley, I got a question for you if you're available.
We can't
Still
hear
muted.
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
we all want to know as a group collectively, why are women so rude? No, I'm just,
Ah,
I'm just joking.
Damn.
to the dude that they
That's 'cause we have to
feeling.
put up- hey, That's because we have to put up with y'all.
Because I know women thinking the same thing. They thinking, why are guys such a-holes
Yeah.
sometimes? And that's another thing. It's all about perspective. Because the seller, you know how they're always telling us, so many people keep calling me or something like that. It's because they've had some sort of past experience. And so when you call them, you're not just meeting that person or stepping into like that conversation. You stepping into all the experiences that they had. And you just a voice at the other end
Pretty
of the
girl.
phone.
It's the pretty girl mentality. They're like, oh my God, so many people like me. I don't know what
You
to
ever met a pretty
do.
girl that felt like an ugly
Oh
girl?
my God. Yeah. And then you meet the ugly girl that thinks you're pretty. And you like, yo, what? No, let me stop. Let me stop. I'm playing. I'm joking.
All about perspective. It's all
I'm
about
joking.
perspective
I'm
on
joking.
these phones, man. So I'm trying to tell y'all, it's nothing that you could do or can't do. Like Johnny said, it's not about convincing them. It's just about staying consistent. It might take, you might have to literally cold call 1,000 people before you get your first deal, but are you going to stay consistent?
You don't call
Maybe.
more than that.
It's different for everybody. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, because I know, oh my God, bro. And I love people's success, but I've been doing it for a while. I got a homie, and this is my guy. I love him to death. But he drove for dollars for 2 weekends, and then he found a $40,000 deal. He didn't cold call a lot of people. It was just about him doing it. You know what I mean? And I was like, dang, I ain't gonna lie. It was like a 45,000. I was like, dang, I ain't gonna lie. I'm kind of I'm happy for him for sure. Like that was like energy. Like I was like able to feed off his energy. But at the same time, I was thinking like, dang, bro, it's different for everybody. I found my first deal in 2019, and then it was a whole year before I found the next deal after that. But after I found them, they started to roll. You know what I mean? So but just for numbers' sake, you may have to talk to 1,000 people, cold call 1,000 people. Probably, like he said, probably definitely way more than that. But let's say that 1,000 people, you got your job, you got to go to work, and then you get off. You might have family, you might have a lot of stuff to do. So you might only have 2 hours a day to devote to that. That might only equate to like 50 calls a day. And that might be however long it takes you to get to it. Are you going to stay consistent? Are you going to keep calling, keep dealing with these, having literally the same conversation over and over again? No, I told you guys to take me off your list. Ma'am, this is the first time I'm calling you.
Exactly.
You tell me to take you off the list. This is the first time I'm calling you. But okay, whatever. Boom, bye. Just get and keep going. Are you going to stay consistent? That's all it takes. It ain't no special key, no special technique. I'm just giving you tips that help you, and we're giving you tips that's going to help you get there faster and more efficiently. But ultimately, you can have all these tips and know how to do everything. If you're not going to be efficient, if you're not going to stay consistent, you ain't going to do nothing. You won't do anything. Sometimes I'm in a dialer. I said I would do it every day this week, but I wanted to go hang out and play 2K. I wanted to go hoop. I wanted to go, because those things are real. And like I was talking, we was talking a lot about this on the first call, was like, well, what if you don't have the money to pay for a dialer? But we can find the money to pay for other things. You can find the money to go to the movies. You can find the money to buy that new 2K or that new Madden or something like that. We can find the money because we know that that's real and that's the instant gratification. So it's not about I can't find the money. It's the fact that I don't have the faith in this working, because I ain't never got a deal yet. So I don't just buy a dialer and then my money go down the drain. It might not. Stay consistent.
That's why it's key that you said you canceled your Netflix to get the Audible.
Yeah.
I caught that, because now I'm thinking like, man, these kids really don't need no lunch. Like I could definitely like.
They don't
learn a
need the
lot.
lunchables at least.
Nah,
They don't need the up. You know what I'm saying? They don't even need the lunch.
a little bread and water, man. They be all right. Peanut butter and jelly never hurt nobody, dog. That's what we did. It's fine.
Hey, and they'll understand it on the back end. They'll be like,
Yeah,
oh,
they'll appreciate it. Like I appreciate it. I tell my dad all the time, like, man, I was bad as hell. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry.
Right.
They'll
So
appreciate
you really see it.
it.
Telling you. So it's a matter of this. First of all, you got to have faith before it gets done. You're not going to convince yourself of faith. You build the faith as you work your way towards it. You start calling, getting that dialer, you get a couple good leads. And then once you like, oh snap, this might be the one. And then you get to the point where you actually sending out a contract. You're like, oh wow, we're getting closer. And then you get down the contract, then you send out to buyers and they start hitting you up, lighting you up. You're like, I must really have a deal because people are lighting me up. If you don't have a deal and you put it out there, nobody's going to reach out to you. It's just going to be dry. It's going to be crickets. But if people are just like hitting you up, hey, when can I come see it? When can I come see it? Hey, can you do this much? You know, you got a deal. And then you're like, oh, snap. Then you actually get on a contract. You're getting closer and closer. You're like, wow, this is really the one. That's how your faith builds up as you go to it. You're not going to have ultimate faith on this side of the plane. Real talk. And just to keep it 100 with you, man, you're not going to have faith, but also you're going to be terrified of going to the next step. You could talk to a seller, but then it's like, I've never sent out a contract. How am I going to send out this I got to send a contract out. That's kind of, what if I said the wrong thing? What if I got the wrong paperwork? What if they say no? What if I get sued? What if they say no? Let them tell you no. Don't tell yourself that they're going to say no. Send a contract out. And if they're going to say no, let them tell you. But don't tell yourself no and never send a contract out, because that'll be selling yourself short. That's pretty lame, honestly. Let them tell you, no, that's my motto about everything. With the seller, don't be afraid to say 150 if they're asking for 200. Let them tell you no. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Do it the right way, but don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah.
Because really what's going to happen is you might send a contract, and if they have something, I'm trying to lock up a 10-piece this week. And just earlier today, I was trying to get the contract out to the dude. We've been going back and forth. And so it's a long story. I could break that deal down next week or something like that. But I was trying to send it out, and they were like, all right, I got to have my attorney look at it. I'm like, go ahead, have your attorney look at it. He didn't say no, but his attorney came back, well, we need to change this, this, and this. Let's change it. Let's update it. And because I work with my buyers directly, I can go to my buyers like, are you cool if we make these adjustments, this and this? We need to hire earnest money and all of this. He's like, yeah, fine, boom. So we're going to get it taken care of. So I'm not afraid to get told no. I'll let them tell me no. But a lot of times they're going to say yes. And so you're going to be afraid every step of the way, but use your fear as a compass. Because the one thing you're most afraid to do, you might be really afraid to actually send that contract out. That's what you need to do. And then once you get it under contract, you might be afraid to put it on Facebook and blast it out, or find a buyer, or you might be afraid to work with that buyer because he's like, what if he's just trying to scam me? What if he's another? That's what you need to do. Whatever you're most afraid of, use that as a compass and go in that direction and lean in that direction, and you're going to get further and further. All these deals that I did, the ones that I made the most money off of, the most success, was by doing what I was absolutely scared to do, right? And so on that side of the plane to this side, you need to be willing to go forward and just be all in.
Jerry Norton, one of like the big gurus on YouTube, he said that if you're not pissing people off with your offer, then you're not doing it right. So I was like, hey, if I'm not making a few people mad, then I must not be doing it right. But Nate, I did want to ask you guys, what kind of contract do you use? Do you guys use DocuSign?
Yeah, we use DocuSign. I think we found a contract online, just like a template.
Yeah.
And just basically, yeah.
Do you suggest getting a attorney to look through it and kind of finalize?
I never did. I think having an attorney, if you spend like what, $200 to $500 and have an attorney actually write one up for you, I think it'd be well worth it.
It's gonna be more than that. Trust me. I reached out to an attorney. I was like, "Can you write me up a contract? I need this contract." They was like, "Man, that's gonna be $2,500." Well, it was for a regular purchase agreement and a sub-2 agreement. I just wanted those two things. He said $2,500, and I know all he's gonna do is just copy and paste. They got a stack of them sitting somewhere. He's like, that's what they do. And so, what I would recommend, honestly, I mean, just use one that somebody that you know is doing wholesale deals. Use theirs. Like, hey, you've done X amount of deals with this particular contract right here, and they work every time. Use that one, right? in your state though. I mean, I could share mine 100%, but you know, maybe there's particulars if y'all in a different state. If y'all, where are y'all at?
Florida.
Yeah, there might be particulars in Florida. Like I said, I haven't done a deal in Florida, but if I were to do a deal tomorrow in Florida, I would use my contract. I would just use mine. It's got, I got it from somebody, but then I also had it custom made. When I bought that Podio system that I was showing y'all at first, it came with a contract and it got what I call the meat and potatoes. It's got the basics in there. But then I wanted to add a couple of things. And so I added things like I got this contingency that says contingent upon satisfactory inspection suitable to purchaser. And what that means is I don't have it. I know y'all know about due diligence period. I don't have a due diligence period. That means at any point in time, I could back out of the contract. You know, I'll never lose earnest money. I've lost earnest money before. It doesn't feel good. And so you never lose earnest money. I got that contingency put in there. And basically saying at any point in time, but I'll be straight up, I won't abuse that contingency. Like I won't get to the day before close and be like, oh, ooh, I can't close by. You know, I wouldn't do the seller like that. I'll let them know up front. But you know, that stuff like that. I would recommend if you know somebody who's working and actually doing wholesale deals in your area, be like, hey, what contract you use? Can you share me your contract? And if they're not jerks, then they'll share.
Like I got like the one I use, I got from Jerry Norton under one of his YouTube videos. And I just downloaded it, put it into a Word, updated a few things to make it work for me. And then I uploaded it as a PDF and then I have DocuSign too, put in all the lines. So whenever somebody's ready, I just got to update the address and send it straight to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really have enough time to show y'all my purchase agreement, but it's inside my Podio. So what it does is like, it goes line by line. It'd be like, in one of those Podio apps, it's like, how much do you want to offer? What's the name of the seller? What name do you want to use? Like, do I want to use my personal name or do I want to use my LLC? And then it asks me like, how much do I want to put in earnest money? And I'm going like line by line, typing it in this box, typing it in that box, typing in that box. And then I hit a button and then it just automatically creates the contract for me in a PDF form. And so that makes it just like real easy. And then I just scroll down there and use that. But yeah, like you said, you can use like one. I would just use one that you know that's from somebody that you know is wholesaling. You know what I mean? Like if Jerry Norton's a big time dude, and I know he wholesale all over the country. So, you know, I would trust the Jerry Norton one, honestly. You can find them, but those contracts aren't as big of a deal. I've took a class on contracts before because I was going to get my realtor license, but I didn't. But it's like, theoretically, at least here in the state of Tennessee, we could sign it on a napkin. I could say, I want to buy your house for this much, and I could sign, you can sign, and that's, in court, that'll hold up, right? And the reason why you have certain contracts is because obviously you want to be more dependent on the asset that you're trading. You want to be more secure, but it doesn't have to be majorly like overly complex. Like one of the realtor standard contract, it doesn't have to be that. I have a one pager. And so if you see a good one pager that has all the basics and it covers all the details of the property and the transaction, then be confident in that and send it out. But I tell you what, if y'all want to, you can go ahead and put your contract in the group chat and we can look at it and give you feedback on it. I'll share mine. If you want to use it, if you want to pull from it, if you want to edit it, take this from there, take that from there, however you want to do it.
I do want your contingency little addendum or what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I'll send my whole contract out. I just have it I have the contract, and at the bottom I said miscellaneous. It says contingent upon satisfactory inspection suitable to purchaser.
So did you get rid of that? Because at the top of mine it says inspection contingency. Did you just get rid of that all the way?
Yeah, I removed that, and then at the bottom I put that. So because I mine it said the inspection contingency, and then it came with a period, like a date that I could plug in for like 2-week period to do your due diligence and confirm. And normally I know a lot of people on YouTube would teach you that's how much time you have to find a buyer and plug in place. Because if you go past that period, that's when you'll lose your earnest money. But like I said, with that one, I took that out and just put this and then I'll never lose my earnest money, really.
The last realtor I spoke to about the foreclosure I was working on, he said that when he puts in things in the contract that he really wants the seller to see so they don't skip over and then read it later and be complaining about it, he'll have like the little signature right next to that as well, just as an extra signature. Would you do that for a thing like that, just so the seller can't sees that there's no inspection contingency, or you kind of put it at the bottom in hopes that they'll skim over it?
No, I wouldn't do that. But it's not that I'm hoping that they'll skim over it, because like it is, like I said, it's under miscellaneous, so it's separate from everything. But I'm not going to draw like a whole bunch of attention to it. It's just going to be straightforward. And that is a good technique. But again, that technique, because I learned it when I was taking the class on contracts or whatever to be a realtor. That's the technique that realtors use, because they have 7-page long purchase agreements.
Yeah.
It's closing this and that and this and that. And so they want to have you initial here to detail like this particular thing that they need to pay attention to, pointing out like, I did disclose to you the fact that I am a realtor and this and that and this and that. And so with the 1-pagers, I don't think that like having a particular part where you initial, I think the point of a 1-pager is that they can just review it and look at everything, and everything has equal value on that page, as long if you're using a 1-pager. And so I don't do that. I think, matter of fact, here it is. Well, here's a copy of a purchase agreement that I got signed, but that's kind of like, it's just a 1-pager. And obviously you guys can't really see the detail, but just kind of give you a like spatial. And then at the bottom, I have, it says contingent upon satisfactory inspection suitable to purchaser. That's A. And then B, I only put that B in there like if there's other things.
Yeah.
Like, I got a place where I can add other things like the one that I have in there says this contract is contingent upon us getting that price point approved. That's because that price point was real close and I didn't know if we could actually get it approved. I just wanted to do it. The seller was like, A-okay, because it also says if we can't get it approved in 5 business days, then the contract itself will terminate. And so that's kind of something like an inspection period, except for this one says, if we don't get it approved, then the contract is just void anyway. So we don't have to worry about it. And the seller was like super cool with that. Or if they got a tenant in there and we want to allow the tenant a little bit of time after closing, or the seller themselves want some time after closing, I'll include that down here under miscellaneous provisions or whatever. And I don't usually get my contracts like physically signed like this in person. Sometimes you'll deal with the old person and they're like, I don't know how to work my computer. So you're gonna have to.
I got an 89-year-old lady in Memphis, and she was like, just send me some business cards in the mail. I'm like, my business card's electric. Like I tap in on your phone and my information pops up. I don't even have a physical card to give you.
Let me tell me to do that. They just send me some stuff in the mail. Even if I always send them, because on my Podio, actually it comes with like I can send them stuff in the mail. Like I just type it in my Podio, click a button, and it just automatically is connected to a Lob account, automatically sends them whatever. They never.
So here's a quick question. Do y'all, and I guess it's more for Cordero and Johnny, and maybe Ashley, but do y'all have anything, or do y'all even care about if they ask you to like send y'all stuff like information? Because I've had that before, but I ain't really like where they say, yeah, send me some information on your company, or send me something, send me an email or something. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk this first. So when you say were they able to use technology? Could you send them information?
They were asking me just for info about the company. Yeah, the company we work for, blah, blah, blah. Because that's kind of how I had positioned it.
Do you know any reputable wholesalers around your companies? That's A. Or B, go to your nearest title company and be like, hey, I have somebody who wants to see some stuff. Do you mind if I use your credentials? 9 times out of 10, that title company is going to be like, hey, okay, yeah, here's the address and here's the website, here's what we do. And they'll allow you to use that information.
Yeah, or the buyers. Sorry, Johnny, I thought you finished your thought, but or the buyers, like what he's saying, use the title company. You could totally do that, send over information on the title company. Or if you have buyers, like if you're working with buyers specifically, I mean, they're truly partnering with you on the deal, so use their info.
Yeah, absolutely. Both of those things, I've done both of those things. So, yeah, I guess I'll speak to what Ashley said first. Is that's another benefit again, is why I do reverse wholesaling. I find the buyers first. Find you some buyers to start working with. And then if they ask, because they might ask you for something like not just information about your company, they might ask you for proof of funds. And then what you gonna do? You know what I mean? The buyer is gonna provide that. As a matter of fact, I got the guy today that I'm trying to get him locked up. Oh my God, he's giving me such a tough time, but he's gonna ask for proof of funds or whatever. And I go to the buyer. I said, can you provide me proof of funds? He's like, yeah, I'll send it right over. Simple, easy. And then, like he said, I use a title company. I've never just called a title company out of nowhere and just like, hey, can I use your credentials? But like a title company that I've worked with before, I'd be like, I always say, hey, just call up there to the title company. And, they know that we close deals. They know that we've done this, and the title company will basically vouch for you. I remember one time I was closing, and no, I was actually wanting to get it signed in person, kind of like this similar situation. And the seller was just like, where can we meet? I was like, let's meet up at the title company. And they were like, oh yeah, that's Mr. Martin. And I was like, damn, I'm Mr. Martin today. You know what I mean? But they're like, that's Mr. Martin. And he does, he closes with us all the time, and so on and so forth. But obviously, if you're new, you won't have that credibility because you've never done a deal. But I would recommend definitely using the buyer, and just kind of letting them know what you do. But I have something called a company commitment letter. And it's actually, again, that's something I'm working on getting built into my Podio, because with the new guy, but it's just what we do is once we've determined that a lead is ready to go, we can just click that button. And if I still have my Podio pulled up, I'll show you. It's just a button we click, and it automatically emails them a company commitment letter. And what this does is an email that states our process in a few steps. We get it on the contract, we do this, we go on the inspection, we go to closing. It gives them details of our property. It has my company logo, and then it gives them a list of some of the properties that we've closed in the past, all the properties that I've closed in the past. And you can also, if you're working with, again, specific buyers, you can include the properties that your buyers own, because again, you establish that you're representing these buyers to begin with. So that's another thing I do, is called the company commitment letter. And it's just an email. And like I said, I'm working on getting it built into my Podio, but once I get it, I'll send it to you, and I can show you kind of what it looks like. So that's another one. Short of it, all of that is short of just having your own website. If you want to get a website,
that's the number one way. Just have a website. Also, just a kind of free way. I had a property under contract in Elizabethton one time, and the seller, as soon as he got done signing the contract, he looked me up and he did extensive research on me. He knew I was a wholesaler. He saw my YouTube, my Instagram, my Facebook, my TikTok. He saw everything. He gives me a call. He's like, hey man, I love what you're doing, and I have no problem with it. Just, I want this, and this to happen. And he was super cool about the whole process. But he literally just Googled me and found all of my information. So just be on your social medias. Just say,
That
hey,
ain't gonna work with me, bro.
why?
Google Lawrence Taylor and see what happens.
Well, you better clear it up. You better clean it up, boy.
I'm just saying.
Man,
if you Google Lawrence Taylor, it's gonna pull up a football player, and then that's that on that. You know what I mean?
Just saying.
So he's good, but I mean, even still,
they type in Lawrence Taylor real estate, then what?
Lawrence Taylor is a pretty big name.
I was gonna say, like,
it's probably gonna pull up his, like, the property he owns,
and then on top of that, it's a lot of Lawrence Taylors out there, and apparently it's a lot of like heavy hitters too that's Lawrence Taylors that I didn't even know about. So, and apparently we all look alike. And there's that.
Yeah,
But Johnny, if you haven't
Look,
had
he got
that
it right there.
You said what?
Nate just pulled it up.
Your initials are your LLC. So did you do that before you recognized that you shouldn't have your name in your LLC?
So I was like, this is not the LLC that I'm gonna be buying and holding properties in, so I don't care. That was my thing.
Not buying and holding, even wholesaling.
See, I was only concerned about that if I was buying and holding, because then I don't want my tenants to be able to know who I am. If I'm just wholesaling, having my initials doesn't really matter to me.
But homeboy looked you up real quick.
He didn't look up JS Property Investment. He looked up. I'm pretty loud on every social media platform. I don't think it's hard to find me. Type in
Yeah.
my
I mean, a
name.
lot of times I don't even give my last name. I tell them my name is Ashley.
I'm Johnny Stewart.
Ah, dang. I don't give them my I don't be hitting them with my. They might ask or whatever. And again, that's the importance of having a way that you do things and establishing this is how we do stuff. Because you want to come across as we are a company, and I could be Johnny Stewart, but I'm just a guy who works for the company. So when you look me up, you know, I mean, you kind of want to give that appearance to them. So I'm
what
like,
if, quick question. What if you're just the guy who works in the business, but they look you up and see that you're doing this? So you're no longer just the guy who works in the business when all of your information is solely you by yourself. So how would you address that?
man, that's why I don't have it like that, to tell the truth, dog. That's why I'm not like, that's why I don't, that's a major reason why I don't have it like that. But like we said, since we last talked, you know, we've talked about I need to get out there on social media. So I put myself out there on social media, but I'm not advertising myself like, oh, I'm a wholesaler and this is what I do or whatever. Because I mean, I flipped properties before. I partnered on a few flips. I've actually had some rental properties before, but you know, and so I when you look at my social media, I mean, I only got, you know, I just got it started like a couple of days ago.
Brand
So
new.
it says investor. I'm an investor and I advertise myself as an investor. I don't have like, you know, this is how we wholesale or you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I have like the wholesale tags under my pictures, but my bios don't say wholesale
what your
guru.
videos do. But you also have a link to your YouTube videos and
Yeah,
so on
yeah,
and so
yeah.
forth. So they'll be able to access you and get that information. But I'll tell you what, that actually rarely happens. That has happened to me before. The way the buyer looked you up and searched you. Man, we actually had a what I would call a hillbilly. God rest his soul. As a matter of fact, we bought his property and he turned around and died, but he was racist. So I had partners before. Me, you know, I'm black. My partners was black, but we had one partner. He's just thugged out. Like he's got dreads, tattoos. He actually done been shot in his right arm. He's paralyzed in the arm. Like he's thugged out for real deal. He's like super big black dude, like thugged out. He went up to go walk the property. This guy was like threatening him. He showed him like a gun. And he told him like, he's walking the property. He's like, showed him a mantle with a gun on it. He was like, yeah, that gun was used to kill a black kid in such and such and such and such, right? And we're like, what? He called me on the phone. He never heard me. And again, I'll mirror their tonality. He never saw me, but he heard me because we was talking on the phone. He's like, I didn't know your partner, you know. And then he casually called us niggers. He casually called us the N-word. Like it was just nothing, you know, white people, Mexicans, niggers, it's all the same. I was like, what, bro? And so he took it upon himself to not only look, you know, me up, he looked my partners up, he looked but I didn't have a social media or anything. So he was like, he was getting around about like, man, I can't find you anywhere, but I found your partner and I know this about him and I know that about him. And he was just like trying to look at pictures and connect the dots or whatever, but he was wrong. He created a narrative and he was absolutely like, he was wrong about a lot of details. It's like, what? It's like, whatever, bro. You don't know what you're talking about. So I've had it happen where they will look you up before, but it's rare.
Yeah.
It's rare, but I just.
Johnny, have you thought about creating like a business Facebook page? Because you can link all of your contacts. Like,
yeah,
if you want to keep your following, but have a separate Facebook page, and Facebook will actually like suggest advertising for you, like very cheap advertising for you. But you could put all your videos on there so that if somebody looks up you by your name, they're not going to find that you're necessarily wholesaling. But if they look up your business, maybe, I'm just saying, maybe they don't think to look your business up on Facebook, but they do your name.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I definitely need to do that. So my dad has been harping on me because he's like, look, if you're gonna be a businessman, then you need a website. Because old people like me, when we look you up, we want to see a website, which I totally agree. But I told him that I want to close a couple of deals first and have testimonials that I can put on my website. So when you go to my website, there's some credentials. Because if you go to my website now, I have one testimonial and one property address. So
But
it's
you
kind
could
of like,
use your buyer's testimonials. You could use your buyer's testimonials. You could use the title company's testimonials. You're just not thinking 10X.
Yeah, you
but
don't
they're
have to
all
have
about-
testimonials to have a website. You
they're
could
only
just have a
about one
website
deal
and
though.
just- You
That's what
don't you don't even have to include your one deal on there. Just the website, it doesn't necessarily have to be. It could just be they go to the website, it's a landing page that details their process. And also click here if you want to
lead capturing.
exactly. And so you don't have to, I know you may have a vision of what it will turn into, but you got to start somewhere. And you could start with, and again, I don't even have a website because I don't have an online presence anyway, but I'm working on that. And I've been thinking about that a lot too. And we talked about that, Johnny, was like how, man, I wish I had this, and that. But like, if you get started, I know a website, that's something that I've been harping on myself a lot about. Like, you get a website, bro, and it doesn't have to be including all your testimonials. It could just be, here's hi, we're, my company is LOG Investments. This is LOG Investments. This is what we do. This is our process. And again, another thing to support your original question was, what if they look you up? Well, again, that's why I'm transparent with them in the first place, is that I work for these buyers. And so I can be as transparent as open on my social media platforms, like, this is how we do it. We work with buyers. So even if I label myself as a wholesaler, it's still, I'm very clear with that, with the sellers anyway. So when they go look me up, they're like, oh, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? And it will work out in your favor more often than it works against you too. So
yeah.
get your website. As a matter of fact, I'm getting a website. My VA is going to create me a website because she keeps offering it. She just wants to make me a website. These are very talented people over there in the Philippines. And if anybody needs VAs, please let me know. She's so good at finding new people. They all have good American I don't know how, but they have good English
Practice.
She keeps bringing me people.
Oh,
Has the
some
good
of those
English.
people can speak better English than they can their own natural language.
That's very sad, but super true. And like they have kids and they're like, yeah, my kids don't know how to speak our language. They only know how to speak English. I'm like, why would you?
I've been there, dude. I can tell you. It is.
Hey,
so,
Johnny,
yeah.
real quick, why don't you just like clip up some of your videos and your shorts and stuff and some of those conversations, just use that. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that'll, that'll fill in maybe some of the, not fluff, but you know what I mean? Like it'll have that'll be some content that you can have on your website.
Well, and I can tell you too, Johnny, what I'm trying to do, because I don't have a website either. Like, that's something I'm working on right now. And I've talked to Johnny about it a couple of times. I want to create 2 landing pages. I want a landing page for buyers, and I want a landing page for sellers, or properties that I'm selling. And then I want to try to build a list of buyers somewhere else. So if I create 2 landing pages and keep it separate, one for acquisitions, one for dispositions, then I'm going to be able to get on my acquisition side. I want their email, I want their phone number, I want their information about a property they might have, just to get a conversation going. And it'll be, I'm buying houses, I'm paying cash, whatever. And then on the other landing page, I'm going to have examples of properties that I have. And even if I have one, then I'm going to use just a generic picture of houses that are marked out, but you hover over and it says, sorry, you missed out on this one. And it'll show the one that is there. It's just to have that landing page gives a sense of professionalism, and you're bringing you're bringing something to the table, and they don't look at you like a JV.
Yeah, I completely agree. Ashley's kind of been harping on me like, hey, you need a website, homeboy, for a long time.
Me too, though. I'm
But
right there with
you might have the most content that out of all of us here. So like I feel like it would be easier for you to kind of just leverage what you already have. And even you could even like create some type of like, hey, for inquiries, or for what am I thinking about? Like for testimonials, give me a call, reach out to me, or what I'm saying, just something like that where you can kind of just like build a little bit of suspense, I guess, with it. Because they'll see the YouTube, they'll see the Instagram, stuff like that. So
and as much as you are making phone calls and posting videos, and maybe you help people with that,
that's what I'm saying.
maybe you do something Maybe do
again,
something on the side where you're helping people with phone calls.
to Ashley's point and what she's saying is that's the benefit of having different landing pages for different reasons. And like I said, I think I mentioned this on the last one. I had some partners and they try to use one website, I guess, to be cheap. And they try to use one website for everything for acquisition and disposition. And they do get cross-wired, and then the website basically becomes pointless at that point. You know what I mean? And so to that point, maybe I wouldn't say do your YouTube stuff for your acquisitions website. Again, when it comes to that, you don't need testimonials. You really just need here's what we do, because what they're looking for when they look up a website is the same thing as if they were to call an attorney or your closing company and say, hey, who is this person? They're trying to look for
just
credibility,
Yeah,
legitimacy.
it's credibility, yeah.
You know what I mean? And just having a website and a way of doing things is how they're gonna perceive you as credible. But if you on YouTube, if you put your YouTube, that may work against you as far as credibility goes, because it's like it's gonna show that you're working, but that's not what they're looking for. They're only gonna see Johnny. So how are you gonna represent yourself as a company if it's only you?
See, that's exactly the conversation I've had with my father, because the only people who like sellers aren't watching my YouTube videos.
Right.
The only people watching my videos are other wholesalers, the people who are interested in space. Sellers don't care about what I'm doing in front of a camera. They don't care. So I wouldn't put that on there. I think what it boils down to is right now I'm cheap, right? So if I have a website, then I want to have a PPC, right? I don't want to just have a website that doesn't have any ads running to it, nothing, so nobody's going to see it. There's a lot of competition, especially in the state of Tennessee. If I'm not doing PPC, then just having a website, who is probably going to see that website? Other than those
sellers who are asking for credibility.
You're right.
Yeah. So it would literally just be
By the way, man, I'm telling
it
you,
would be a commitment page website, commitment letter website.
I like for these calls, and of course, we've stretched it. I know we still want to be considerate of time. These are things that are like kind of next level. I think we should talk about the dialer. We should talk about, because I haven't really done much. I mean, I've done all these like a lot of deals, or relatively. I haven't even done 100 deals yet, guys. So whatever. But you didn't need I didn't need a website to do it. I just needed to reach out and talk to sellers.
True.
You know what I mean? I didn't even need a commitment letter. Like, I got a commitment letter now, but I didn't need that to do it. It was just real talk. What really got me in the game was the dialer. That was the game changer. That was the thing that made a difference, because all I had to do was just like, when they were just like, well, do you guys got a website or something? I'm like, no, we don't have a website because we're just a starter company or whatever. Let them know that you just started.
Yeah.
I just watched the deal the other day on Jerry Norton, or a video the other day on Jerry Norton's page. Is this guy, he did like a 100K something, like a 95K deal is what he walked away with. He said what worked in his favor was he let the seller know that this is going to be his first deal. And if he gets this deal, this will give him the capital to start doing more deals. He was 100. That was his first deal too. He did a 95 piece.
You know how many first deals I did in a car dealership? And they were like, all right, we're going to get this for you.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So it's like, we could talk about
cut my tie and everything like it's the first deal. Like, yeah, we're gonna get
Yeah, and Johnny, something else I was gonna say is there's a difference in having a website and having a landing page. So maybe, like, to your point is, you're saying I don't want to spend a lot of money. Well, landing pages don't cost a lot of money. You could get a landing page quick because you don't need it to be layered with all these different things that you want coded, all these different layers of coding for a website. You just need one page of coding that's very simple. Maybe it has the YouTube video, maybe it has pictures on it, but the most you want to get out of that landing page is more of a way to grow leads either way. You want people coming to one page and giving you their information so that you have inbound leads coming, and you want the other landing page to act as a way to sell properties to other people. So it's just a landing page. And then once you've done a few deals, at least that landing page is going to make you look professional. You could even have a landing page that says on it, here's our landing page while our website is under construction or whatever. You know, I've seen landing pages that'll say.
Did she go away for y'all too?
Yeah.
She froze up
Yeah.
on you. You cut
Hey,
out.
you back, Ashley?
I know I cut out. I'm sorry. I live in the hills and, you know.
It's okay.
So I don't know where I got to, but let me say this quick before I lose service again. But you need the landing pages, and it's different than a website. It's cheaper. And one page, you're just gathering information. You want leads coming to you, giving you their email or their phone number or whatever. You want your other page to act as a disposition for buyers. They're just coming to it to look at properties and give their information as well, maybe. So you can send a mass text out to all your buyers every time you want to do a buyer's meet at a dispo. So you're really just collecting information for both of those pages. And you could even, I've seen them where they say, you know, stay tuned while our website's under construction or whatever, or this is our temporary landing page due to updates to our website. You know, you could totally have something on there like that, but it's still doing something for you and giving a professional look.
I'm gonna send me information on that, like the one landing page where I can set it up at, and I'll look into
Yeah.
it.
I'll send you the one that I'm gonna do because I'm gonna do mine tonight.
Bet. Yeah, send
Night.
me.
I might have to holler at Ashley too. Ashley, how
Word.
many have you done? How many deals have you done?
So I started this in December, like researching all of this. And since then, I've gotten one contract under that I'm trying to get the seller to come down on the price because they're giving me a full retail price just because they're not the decision makers in Alabama. And I was, quite frankly, I wasn't talking to the decision maker, and that was a mistake that I made. Since then, I've made contact with the decision maker and I've had that conversation. It was a tough conversation, but I came with homework. Like I brought 8 properties to show them. I brought their tax documents to prove what the property was valued at or what they were paying taxes against. I've also built a really good relationship with them. So they want to sell it. I think I'm just going to have to condition them a little more. And then the next property I have, just by posting on Facebook, like, hey, I'm looking for properties. I'll pay all cash. And I had some people when I was in the military that reached out to me. One guy in Indiana, he's like, hey, I need to sell my house. I moved to Florida. I've already got a buyer. I just don't know how to do the paperwork. So if you'll do the transaction, I'll give you part of the deal. And I'm like, okay. So I got that one. And then yesterday I spoke to another lady in the Cookeville area who wants to sell her house. She's motivated. She's 2 weeks away from putting it on the market. I wish I would have gotten a hold of her sooner because she's put money into it. She's put a new roof on. She's put an AC unit in. Actually 3, because she put an HVAC in on the main level, and then she put those split ACs, one on the upstairs and then one for the basement. This house is like 4,000 square feet. It's huge. And it's in a great neighborhood. So I'm going to meet with her on Tuesday at 1 o'clock and talk about price. So I'm working it. I don't have a dialer yet, but what's been beneficial for me is driving for dollars on batch leads. I was driving for dollars for 2 days and I got that first deal.
And you said December of 2022?
Yeah, but I mean, I've not actually been calling people. I just started calling people at the like mid-January.
Yeah. You've been going in though for just what? It's been barely 3 months. I mean,
He's a bulldog.
I'm on my 5th book. I've read 5 books now about real estate investing, about how to adjust or structure deals to benefit taxpayers and how to benefit the seller's taxes. I'm all about the creative. I'm good at talking.
What's your goal? Where do you want it to? You want to focus on wholesaling first?
No.
Or you just
Yeah. I mean, I'm wholesaling first, but that's not my game. Like, you know, I'm doing that just because I want today money or yesterday
That's
money.
why I said first. You know what I mean? I know that's I think I would hope that all of us are like, you know, you don't just only want to be a wholesaler. That'd be crazy. You know what I mean? That's like only wanting to date somebody and never get into a serious relationship. And with some, you know what I mean? I just talk about just forever. I think some people do choose that. And again, that's crazy, even still, you know what I mean? Because some people do just wholesale their whole entire career. I'm like, bro, you got
I-
money, go flip
They're
something.
paying a lot in taxes, I can tell you that,
I
because this is
think-
a means to an end.
I think that so just kind of hearing you say it's crazy. Hearing I've heard what Ashley said. Ashley's not really on board. What I want to do personally is for the next 2 years, I want to wholesale everything I touch, even if it's a great deal that I would look fabulous in my portfolio. Wholesale for 2 years straight, everything that I touch. Then in those 2 years, as that goes, I will have a whole business built to where I can step away from the business. So the business will keep going as a wholesale business, and that business will then allow me to cherry pick deals that I want to buy and hold or fix and flip. So I'll still be wholesaling as my business will. And then I'll be able to pick what I want out of that business to start fixing, flipping, or holding to build my portfolio. So
All right.
my first goal is to build a operational wholesaling business that will operate for the rest of my life without me in it. That's what I want to do. Then,
Cordero, oh, go ahead, I thought you were done.
then from that, as that wholesale business is churning out deals, I'll see all the deals that come through and I'll be like, I want that one to fix and flip. I want that one to buy and hold. I'd be able to pick which ones I want, even though I have a business that wholesales by itself.
Exactly. What was you
So
gonna say?
Cordero, before you comment on that, I've been in his ear every day. Like, so are you looking forward? I've been in his ear every day. And I've been saying, so are you looking to pay 40% in taxes by the end of the year for all these deals you're doing if you're wholesaling? You know, so I told him, look, if the deal comes your way that you just could not turn away because it's no money out of your pocket, you can get it creatively, it's in a good area, wouldn't you at least want to take that one property as a buy and hold and rent it out or something to collect accelerated depreciation on, so you limit your tax liability?
Well, I would say this. I think the most important thing is I said to start, and in the beginning, he said for the first 2 years. I don't think we got to consider longevity in this. I know it might sound like a long time, but 2 years is not that long.
That's
You know
what I
what
was
I
gonna
mean?
say.
But
2
that's
years
the
doesn't
thing,
sound
when
like
I
that
Like
long.
this. And to your point, he doesn't. You're absolutely right. I think you both are saying the same thing, but it's a matter of, well, why not do it in the first year? I think to Ashley's point, I know a lot of wholesalers who are at the point where they've done what Johnny said he wanted to do. They created the business, and now they're flipping, and now they're taking all the buy and holds. Now they're focused on whatever, and a lot of them do look back and like, man, I wish I would have. A lot of them, some of them look back and say, man, I wish I would have kept that one or that one. And then some of them, that was their plan and it worked perfectly, because you pay don't get it twisted. If you get a rental, that's a business in and of itself. And then the process of creating a wholesaling business that's fully autonomous and operational without you, that's a business, and it's not a walk in the park. It's kind of difficult. And so if you're trying to build a business and then you buy a whole nother business, that can take you off. And in real estate, there's a lot of shiny objects. There's going to be deals. And I think the concept of creating and taking that first 2 years of your investing career to establish a foundation, it's just like a house. It's like you would think that you need to start putting up the walls first, but in reality, you got to start digging down. That's the first thing you do to build a house, is digging down and then laying the cement. And then you start putting up the walls and this. And the stronger your foundation, the stronger the rest of your career is. And so he could look back on it and be like, man, I wish I would have bought this property. But if he creates an autonomous wholesaling business, then the deals that he finds now, he's going to find them in 2 years from now. He's going to keep finding deals. And also
Go ahead.
Now, I was going to say also another thing to consider is timing, as far as timing in the market too. We don't know what the market's going to do. I'm not even going to talk to y'all and pretend like I know what it's going to do. But the likelihood that the market's going to crash within the next 2 years, and if he can wholesale while it's going down, and then he's got a stack of cash that he's sitting on, in 2 years, when everything is bottom, he can start buying up at a better price. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But I would say I would agree 100% with Ashley if Johnny was just like, yeah, no, I only want to wholesale. And if he never had intentions at some point to start buying properties, I was like, bro, you're going to be missing out for real. And you're going to
Yeah,
be
well,
taking advantage
and
of the tax benefits.
another thing too, like I don't even think, the thing is, I don't think it's going to take him 2 years. I got no problem with him wanting to focus on building a business and staying consistent and building that first. I think that's a great idea because, I mean, rule of thumb is if you're consistent and you stick with something, you can make it extremely successful. I just think that he can do that. Like, he's determined, he has the will, he's putting himself out there, he's taking action. I just don't think that it's going to take him that long. And, you know, for me, I just thought if it falls in your lap, and I mean, I think once you look at the numbers on paper and what you're paying in taxes versus, that's a loss. That's money in your pocket if you had something taken.
Yeah. I mean, you do make great points, but I would say once you actually get into business and start doing deals, you'll start to realize you get a better perspective of how all of this works realistically. And also, if you're doing it all time, like an actual building a business, you will have overhead. You do get to take advantage of tax deductions and things like that. If tax is the main concern, you can take advantage of tax deductions. But it's not, again, it's not a walk in the park. It's not just something like, oh yeah, you'll just be able to start and just, you know, and I'm not saying you can't do it sooner than 2 years, but you know, once you start doing these deals and realize there's a difference between getting your first deal, then getting consistent with doing deals, and then turning that into a business. That's why I recommended the book, The E-Myth Revisited. Please read that book. You know, if you're trying to get your first deal, read the 10X Rule. If you're trying to build a business, read the E-Myth Revisited. That book is just a really good book. But yeah, I mean, he could do that. But again, there are a lot of, you know, to your point, Ashley, there are a lot of things that he could be doing that one would consider better. Like, one could come in and make the argument that why even wholesale when you could just do a lot of subject to deals or owner finance deals and only do those type of deals, because then you really, really get it. Not only do you get a tax benefit, but you really get the ownership, and you don't have to put any overhead and such and such. But that's, again, they say it's called shiny objects. There's going to be a lot of things that will distract you from the starting point to getting to your setting your goals. And so you could want to do this and that and this and that. And I'm not saying do it, but if you've got a sound plan from the beginning, then just stick with the plan and go with it, and believe in abundance. Don't think that he's going to come across a deal in his first year that's so good he'll never come across it again. He will, trust me. And especially if you focus on building that business up to where you can, you're not building, you're not looking for deals anymore. You've created something that brings you deals without you doing anything. Now, he will be in a better position if he's got the cash and he's got a machine that just hands him deals. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Well,
so,
that would be the argument. That right there would be the argument. People wholesale because they want money now. People do creative because they don't necessarily need money right now, but they want investment opportunities. So I could go out here tomorrow and get a creative deal, and maybe it cost me a couple $1,000s out of my pocket, but I'm not actually going to start generating money right away necessarily. But with wholesaling, you'll generate some capital if you know a little about what you're doing.
Yeah.
But that's the argument there. That's why you wholesale now and then buy and hold later.
Yeah, absolutely. You bring a good point. It's like understanding a person's starting point. So that's why I'm like, I really can't just give you advice because it depends on you. Like maybe you young enough to where you still live at home with your parents and your overhead just in life is so low. You don't gotta pay rent, you don't gotta pay for your own food and stuff like that. So you could put together some deals and you might have the luxury of time. You're not a pro in the business. You still are at your beginning of your career, but as far as your personal life, you got the luxury of time to put stuff together or whatever. But if it's about like where I'm at in life and I need to get out of this hole or I need to make something shake now, I can't be trying to put together a rental property when, again, that's one, that's its own business. And two, it's not going to generate me the income I need to change my life like I need it.
Right.
And then two, again, I think you got to understand this stuff. It's a lot of work. Like it's a lot of work. And if you, every rental property, and that's what I was going to say earlier, is like when it comes to the LLC things, is people literally for every rental property or every investment, they have a new LLC for each one. And I'm sure y'all know that already. Like they don't just have one LLC that they keep all their rentals in. They have
I mean,
each
some
business
people
has-
do.
yeah, that's not a, I don't think that that's a good idea from what I know.
That's a
You know?
horrible idea.
Terrible idea. So that's because they're all individual businesses. So again, if you're trying to build an autonomous wholesale business and then you buy yourself a rental property, that could be a huge distraction, especially the learning curve. And so I think it's just like, you know, it's the same reason why they don't tell you. I mean, some people do, and a lot of people don't. When you're a freshman in college, you take freshman classes. You can take a sophomore class. You could take those, you know, but you really want to, there's like a level. Like, I'm learning this stuff now. I'm learning this stuff now. I'm learning this stuff now. Some people will be like, all right, let me take one AP class or something when they're in high school or something. But, you know, for the most part,
Well, to your point, I took English and math and art, and I played basketball. And so I'm trying to do it all.
right,
See,
right.
my
Let's get a
biggest
deal first. Okay,
My-
let's get some deals on the board first. Let us all get some deals on the board first, because I remember this stage, especially when I would go to the meeting and talk with new wholesalers. They would throw out all these extravagant ideas, and then I'm like, okay, so we haven't done any deals. But when I talk to the guys, like I said, in my other group, they've done millions. It's not, let me do this, this, and this, and this, and this. It's they did one thing. And I don't know if any of y'all ever played football, but it's just like if you running the ball, you can get out in the open field, juke, spin, and jump over people all you want. But when you first get that ball, it's all about hitting that A gap, hit the B gap, hit it and go.
Hit the hole.
Hit the hole and go.
Hit
You
the hole
can't
and
be
go.
like, and it's so important that you hit the hole that the entire team needs to
Yeah.
know that play. That the running back is going to hit the A gap because the linemen have to adjust what they're doing and their strategy. We might need a guy that's going to come from over here and he's going to come around and
He's
help
gonna
you open
pull.
up that hole even
Yeah.
more. Because
Everybody's
that hole is
focused
the
on the same
focus.
goal.
And so you can't, everybody, because that one hole is to go first. And then once you get out into the open field, he can do whatever he wants. But if you don't do that, and in the beginning, it's like, I might do this, I might do a little bit of this, you're going to lose yards because you're going to get sacked in the backfield. You're going to get sacked and go that way when you need to be going this way. And that's big. And that's something I'm telling all newbies. It's like, yes, we could talk about a website. We could talk about this. I could talk about buying a Lamborghini and putting my company logo on the side of the Lamborghini and driving it around town. That's a form of marketing. And people will probably see that and see the phone number. Like, did you see that Lamborghini? But come on, get a dialer and start calling. That's what I was saying. Seriously, man, let's do that. Because I know that will get you a deal. I could say all these other things and they're theoretical and they may work. But one thing I know for sure will work is just hit the hole and go and just dial. And if you're about wholesaling first, that's why I said first when I asked you the question, Ashley, because I never want to pigeonhole anybody or put them in a box. Like, you just want to wholesale, right? No, I wouldn't say that. But in the beginning, to build up your capital, then let's do that. And we could talk about doing that. You know what I mean? And so everything that you need to do that is some leads, some phone numbers, and a dialer. Or a text blast and say, if you got like a job and you don't got a lot of time to cold call or whatever, you can hire a VA to do it for you, or you could get the text messaging, but that costs a little bit more money. But again, I'm trying to be as conscious of people's pockets right now and tell you just the easiest way to go from point A to a deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm 2 days into this dialer, and I promise, I promise this is what you want. You want a dollar. It would take me like 3 hours just to build a list in the past. And then it would take me 3 hours just to dial through 50 contacts with 3 numbers each. It would take so much time. I called like 1,500 people today. Just off a dialer. Like I sat here for 6 hours.
I completely agree that you need a dialer or you need a text blaster or.
Yeah, we're not saying that you're wrong, not at all. I know what you say. I absolutely know what you're saying. And I really appreciate your input, because a thing that people will do is get so focused that they don't understand all the opportunities available to them.
Yeah, and I don't want to throw anybody else off that's in the group, because I know that there are other new people in here, and I don't want them thinking, oh, well, somebody in the group tonight said I should focus on buy and holds. Let me go let me stop what I'm doing and go focus on that. I don't mean that at all. I'm just saying, you know, I had to open my mind first to even believe that this was a possibility. I was in the military, you know, I worked senior level management jobs, made really great money doing that, and never thought that this was an opportunity. So
I
I
could
started over from
Yeah.
scratch. You
I
know,
could
this
tell
is where
you
I'm at.
for sure. Like I just by your vibe, and I appreciate your service. That's something I let all military personnel know. Thank you for your service. But I could tell that, and I know our guys down there in Florida are like, they are y'all in a different time zone, huh? Are y'all on Eastern?
Yeah, we're in
Oh,
the
you-
Eastern time zone.
oh,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
know y'all
11. It's 11 o'clock out there,
Well, I
huh?
appreciate. Listen, I say this. I appreciate everybody, man. I try to give as much information as I can, and thank y'all for that information. I'm definitely hitting up auction.com. ASAP.
I was about to say that was a gem that I wrote down that I already texted Jimmy
That was a
about for
bomb.
sure.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm gonna get on there and just I'm about to start. One thing I've been doing is like I got my buyers, I got areas that they're in that they like to buy in, and I focus on those areas, and I just all the criteria that fits. I'm about to start focusing on like I never target foreclosures or divorced couples or they come up and I close those deals because they just fall in my lap. But I'm going to actually start targeting them. So I appreciate y'all for giving that information. Appreciate y'all for sticking around, but I gave as much as I can. Just let y'all know, man, just get straight to it. It's just a matter of, it's a numbers game. Call, talk to as many people as you can. If you get you the money for a dialer. And me and Ashley talked about this. Don't tell me you can't afford it because you could figure out the money for anything else. And I'm sure Thomas can figure out how to, like, I don't know, get his hair all luscious and stuff like that. Go get his hair done, stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So
Wow.
you put some money into the dialer. It's like $200 max. Johnny, it was like $200 max, right? Like,
Yeah, just for the dollar, if I just got a basic dollar with one line, it was 119. I got a bunch of lines, which was another 20, and then I did the call screening so they can tell you if your number has been flagged or not, and that was another 49. So I'm all in like $180 a month.
that's all you need, bro. $180, and you got 1 month of straight just hitting.
Pounding, and you're gonna get a deal now. I've only been on there 2 days. I've got 3 leads from that, but like I know it's gonna come just because I'm gonna sit here and keep calling. So it has to come, right? So
I feel like the game really, even with the dialer, what it's helping you do is contact more people. But the goal in this game is follow up. Like where people are making it happen, what I'm seeing is in the follow up.
yeah,
So you can't be lazy. That one phone call that you get where you can close the deal in that first phone call, I would say that that's rare. And
yeah,
maybe Cordero can speak to that more, but I would say that that's actually rare. It's going to be the follow up. So having a good CRN that can cycle those back through and remind you, like, hey, these are the ones that we need to touch back with and see where they're at. And like the notes that Cordero had in his Podio, like that is what's going to help you succeed because it'll bring those people back into your circle and they'll be like, oh, they didn't forget about me. Thank God. Because, life happens and a tree just fell through my house that I don't want to deal with. All this wind that just came through 70 mile per hour winds. Somebody's got a tree on their roof. I promise you, because it was
That's crazy.
across the road.
I talked to somebody earlier. She literally said that. She said, "Is it?" I was in the dial. She's like, "Is it an emergency?" I was like, "No, I was calling about the property, but I can call you back if you want." Well, my mom's in the hospital and a tree just fell in my yard.
I'm telling you,
But it happens.
there was one across the road today.
You're so right about that. It's rare. It's definitely happened to me several times. That first one just boom, and I bombed. I'm going in. But that's rare. It's the follow-up. And so having a Podio so you can follow up with your leads. But after you go through your list, Johnny, what I do is like you'll see it's in batch dialer. You can hit either recycle that list or you can hit call again. There's two options. And I hit call again, it'll help you dial the entire list all over again. And I always just hit call again. So I'm recycling the whole list. I'm following up with my leads on a regular basis. And that's what I'm using the CRM for. They're constantly getting followed up by my lead manager.
I got a question for you. So what I did was I went through, because you know how you can change the parameters for each like each one, you know, after a call, it says if it was a lead, if they're not interested, blah, blah. What I did was I changed my parameters. So if it was a lead, then it's on the do not call list for the CRM for the next 15 days. Just so when I recycle, I'm not calling us the same lead that I talked to the day before again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I wouldn't put them on the do not call list, but what you can do is when you recycle the list or hit call again, then you can hit, then it'll tell you literally what filters, you can filter out which ones you don't want to call. Like you don't have to put them on a do not call list, just hit don't call the leads. And that's usually what I do, is because again, my leads are at that point in my CRM, they're in Podio.
Yeah.
And they're being followed up with on their own time.
Yeah.
So it'll tell you all your call results, how you can have like, you know, do not call, no answer, voicemail.
Yeah.
And after every call, it's going to have you disposition each call. And so you click lead if it's a lead. And then like when you recycle it, and it'll tell you, okay, do you want to call back all of these call results, and click lead and just mark it out. So it's like, it doesn't call the leads.
Okay.
But yeah, but my
do that.
point was, I know that they're ready to go. They got a lot of stuff to do, you know what I mean? And so
I got, hey, but look, y'all can leave. I got one more question. I don't even remember my question now that I said that.
Yeah, I ain't gotta go home, but
I'm
Damn.
gonna get it. I don't get what I gotta get.
yeah, for real.
Oh,
That's how I was the other day. Me and Jimmy, I was like, man, I really don't want to go, but
Yeah, I'm gonna have to holler at y'all again, man. Cause and again, don't be afraid to go outside of your market. Mostly everything I do is virtual anyway. When you do it, you know, and I could go to the properties, but I just do it virtual because that's how I set it up. Just had a buyer go walk the property, never go look at it really. So if y'all do any deals in Tennessee, and I'm sure you can find your own buyer, then all, you know, I respect, all kudos to you. But if you have a deal you're trying to get off, reach out to me, man. Connect to any of us here. And likewise in Florida, you know what I'm saying? Because JV is a quick way to get to your first deal, is by doing a JV and doing it with somebody who's experienced and somebody who could, you know, kind of help guide you through the deal, and you'll learn a lot. When I was doing some of my earlier deals, I had partners and I worked for them, and then I worked myself into a partnership position, and I learned so much by being in that partnership position with people who was doing it. We all was learning, but because I was the junior and they were the senior, it just kind of helped me, gave me the strength I needed to go full throttle in it. So if y'all find any deal in Tennessee and y'all like, hey man, I need some help getting off, please feel free to reach out. And likewise, if I find a deal in Florida or just anywhere in anybody else's market in Texas, I'll just let y'all know. But I don't want to holler at you and Jimmy again, because y'all got it, man. I already know y'all system is crazy. Y'all system is crazy. Everybody
I'm
here
over
is
here
good.
talking to him right now.
And I'm gonna have to reach out to Ashley and get my website set up. And everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually got to get my landing page.
I've got a house for you. I need you to bring a buyer to.
Oh, really? Where's it?
Yeah, it's in Cookville.
Say no more.
I may have a second one actually. That's the one I'm going to on Tuesday. It's in a really great neighborhood. Has no no telephone poles or electric poles above ground. Everything's underground. So yeah, it looks awesome. This neighborhood's awesome. So all you focus on is the yard and the property, because you don't see any poles anywhere.
That's crazy. Yeah, you're gonna just send me the information, and you got my number in the chat or whatever. Just send me the info, and I'll get right on
But
it.
hey, let me piggyback off what you said real quick. So when I was structuring my day, like I wanted to make sure that I had a very structured day, because I knew if I was consistent with something, if I spent a couple hours on looking for buyers, a couple hours on, looking for properties, either driving for dollars or, calling other things. But I wanted to structure the day in a way that was beneficial to me, so that I was doing at least 4 to 5 things that could help me get going. And one of those things was I went on Facebook and I was looking in Facebook groups for people that needed to dispo properties. And then I would look in those areas for buyers. The same way that I'm looking for buyers in my area, using batch leads to look for buyers, just cash buyers in the area. So, and I knew the auction.com thing because I talked to Jimmy about this a couple days ago. I was like, when I see auction.com properties on Zillow, I thought they were already like bought by auction.com. I didn't know that if the auction date is like 2 months away, that's still an active foreclosure. You can call that owner and grab that property as a foreclosure. You can
Right.
still help them.
Right.
And then like they were saying, find a buyer. So I was focusing a couple hours of my day, like right away. First thing I did was I would reach out to people that are looking to dispo properties so I could JV with them on it. Because I knew that those were deals I could probably wrap up real quick. At the same time, I was studying my own market because I needed to know what pockets were good, what pockets were bad, you know, where are people going, like which direction. So studying your market is huge, I feel. You know, I mean, I know I've not been doing this long, but I've managed to get 3 deals pretty quickly. I think you need to study your market for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to be wasting time. A quick way to assess whether your market is good. I don't like going in, and you can, and whoever else can, you can go into like deep in Nashville or like in the busy, the most metropolitan area, but the outskirts are really where it's at because for obvious reasons. And buyers are definitely buying in the outskirts, and those outskirt areas are going to be more transient as well. And so you can basically look up and search by the counties and then Google that county and be like, try to find something that's between 100 to, I would say between 100 and 200,000 in population. Around 150 is where you want to be at. So 150 in population, and then go ahead and look on PropStream and see how many cash buyers are in that area. And let's say you got 150, if you got like 10,000 cash buyers for 150,000 in population, that's a hot area. You know what I mean? The more cash buyers, you want a lot of cash buyers for that area. But that's a quick way, and that's important. And that's something we can talk about next week. But I'll say she's got a point. List pulling is going to be everything. If you can, but not everything. Staying consistent is going to be everything. But making sure that you staying consistent in the right place, in the right direction. I want to make sure that we're all doing the work, but we staying efficient. And you don't want to be wasting your time in a crappy market that's not even going to get you anywhere, and nobody's buying in that market anyway. And so if you can figure out how to pull the right list, i.e. pull something that actually buyers are interested in, then once you find something off that list, you're good to go. Because I found stuff that was hot, but nobody wanted to buy it. I mean, it was hot relatively for that area, but nobody wanted to buy it because the area as a whole was not hot. And so that's definitely big and important. But yeah, absolutely.
Look, I remember my question now, so I'm gonna let you go after this last question. Do you use the voicemail drop when you call?
No.
Why not?
Like I said, I never leave a voicemail. If you're referring to if multiple people answer the phone, or you just mean
so what happens is I have my dialer set up and I have a pre-recorded voicemail of me just saying something. And when I have it filtered to where, you know how you can put that setting to where it's a voicemail detection, and if the system detects a voicemail, they'll just hang up on them. Well, that call will actually go through to me and I'll click a button so they'll get a voicemail from me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that really comes in handy also. And Jimmy had asked me that question last week or whatever. Is when you're in the dialer, especially if you're using a multi-line dialer, if 2 people answer at the same time, one will get routed to you and the other one will just be sitting there in limbo. And so I think the voicemail drop comes in handy. At least it's like a message, like a pre-recorded message that's like, oh, sorry, let me act like your phone's about to, like the connection's not there or something. And so that way the dialer will automatically call that person back once you get off the phone with this person anyway. And so that's what, but I think we talked about this. I don't leave voicemails because because we're going to call them back anyway. And if I call them back and it's from my number, they recognize it. A lot of people, I think, if they hear the voicemail, they probably won't answer because it's like, oh, people call me about this property all the time. But if I can get them on the phone, I believe in myself to talk to them and I could just kind of hear them out and go. But a voicemail, I'm just, you know how we talk about mirroring tonality. I can't do that with a voicemail. I'm just going to give the same tone. They might hear my voice and be like, this guy sounds like I don't talk to that guy. If I'm like, hi, how are you? And it's like hi, who is this? That type of guy, he might hear the voicemail and be turned off. But if I talk to him directly when I call him back and he actually answers, then I can mirror his tonality. That's just me and how I do it. I've been doing that for years. I never leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
What do you think if you were to say like, hey, this is Cordero, give me a call back, and just leave it at that?
I mean, you could do that, but then again, at that point, no, it's just I don't know. It's just a waste of time. I think I count the calls that I talk to people, and they might call in, they might not, but you got to understand. I mean, that might work. Go ahead, give it a shot, but I'm not leaving voicemails. I'm just calling back because, again, I'm calling these people back constantly. Once I get to the list, I'm going to go to one of my other lists, and then one of my other lists, and then I'm probably going to come right back to this one. And so voicemail or no voicemail, I'm calling you back probably within I got a lot of leads at this point. So it'll probably take me like a month before I get back to them, but I'm going to get back to them regardless.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's kind of my method.
Well, and just something I tried when I was texting people, like I would say, hey, is this Kim? And I would just leave it at that. And that would get at least a response like, hey, who's this? And then I was
about something totally different. You're talking about
right. I know
something
texting is
because
different. I'm
when
just
you're talking about text messaging, that's big. When you're talking about text messaging, whether you're text blasting or if you just got something like call rail, or you just texting people from your phone or even a Google Voice, then the first message, make it something simple. Like, hey, is this Steve? Something very simple, because you don't want to get your text message can get flagged by the carriers. If you say, hey, Steve, I'm calling about 123 Main Street. I want to give you a cash offer. Even if you say the words out of the blue, that will get flagged. And when you get like, I don't know if you know, Ashley, about launch control or even batch leads you could text people off of and lead Sherpa. You have to create templates to text people. And when you create these templates, they give you a list of no words. Don't say these words because they will get flagged by the carrier. And inspection and cash and investment and out of the blue, those words get flagged. So I always keep it very simple with that initial text message. Like, hey, Steve, what's going on? Hey, this is, and I always use a female name. I'll be like, hey, this is Mary, just calling this. Am I speaking with Sarah? Is this Ashley? Is this LT? You know what I mean? And so that way, and then they say, yeah, who is this? And then I get off into that conversation. But that's different from a voicemail. I just don't leave voicemail, because if they get a voicemail, what they might do, if they're in like a bad mood that day, or if they just really don't want to sell at that moment, they might see that number, hear the voicemail, and then block my number. Because they're like, oh, this is another one of those marketers trying to get me to sell. No, I don't want to sell my house. And then a month from now, I try to call them back and a tree is falling on their house. But they already blocked my number last month when they wasn't in the mood. But now they would really love me to call, but they accidentally blocked my number. And that's just kind of just why I don't leave voicemails, is because if I'm not talking to you directly, I don't want you to even know who I was. I would much rather leave. And then when I circle back, when we talk directly, then you can make your assumptions based on that. But
I think that that's a phenomenal point.
It is.
I didn't think of it like that until you broke it down that way.
That's a fact.
And also, I'm kind of glad that you said that, because now I'll get through a whole lot more
calls. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I could make way more calls now.
Yeah, I wasn't doing it with my voice. I never leave voicemails. I just have
we were leaving voicemails.
No, this dialer, it has a button. So I would literally just click a button and it would automatically drop in a voicemail. So I recorded one voicemail and saved it. So every time one would come up, I would just press a button and it would drop in a voicemail. So I wasn't like sitting there on each one, hey, this was Johnny, give me a call back after each one. I only had to do it once. And then I just had to press a button and then
I was thugging it out.
Yeah,
I tell my VAs too, like, don't leave voicemails. Like, that's one thing I tell them, like, don't leave voicemails, whatever, for that very reason. And like I said, if you want to record a voicemail on that one and do that, like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, we're cutting out, and use that, because then they'll be trying to figure out who was this, you know what I mean? And then they might whatever, but even still, but like Ashley said, I mean, to that point, you could say, hey, this is Cordero, call me back. Just be super vague. Maybe that'll work. I'm gonna hit you back. I'm recycling.
Well, and to that point, like, what telemarketer or what, who's calling and saying that? Most people are gonna say what the reason is for the call if they're leaving a voicemail.
Very true. Very true.
I got one quick question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My last quick question: what are times and days? Like, what are y'all feedback on call times throughout the day and days? Like, do y'all call Sundays and Saturdays? I think
I was about to ask who's gonna be in the dialer tomorrow? Who's hitting it tomorrow? Raise your hand if you're gonna hit it tomorrow.
How many hands I got? Find
I'm
out.
on the dialer. But hey, like
I'll
hot
hit you
time
tomorrow,
for me,
man. Just hit. I mean,
hot time for me is 3 to 6.
3
3 to
6.
6 is a hot time for me.
as far as the dialer,
Yeah, as far as the dollar.
yeah, one thing that I found, like when I first started out, I was doing from 9 a.m. to from 10 to 2, from in the morning. And then I was like, man, I think the dialer works better in the afternoon. But if you have the luxury of time, run it all day.
I
Because
call
people's
all
going to
day.
answer in the morning and people's going to answer at night. I'm trying to tell you, it really, as long as you stay consistent. But I do, like when I have my VAs, I have my VA come in and do text messages in the morning, and then I have my VA come in and do calls in the afternoon. You see what I'm saying? Because I think the afternoon is a better time. People just getting off work. People may be having a late lunch, or they doing something. They'll answer that phone real quick. But as far as text messages go, like I want to be the first person to pop up on your phone in the morning. You're gonna check your phone. A lot of us check our phone, roll out of bed, check the phone. So text messages. And I think more people, and it also depends on the area. You as the CEO of your company, you need to know your market, your area the most, because there might be like maybe in Nashville, like in the heart of Nashville, Tennessee, maybe calling in the morning might be better. But if I'm marketing in Clarksville, Tennessee or Cookeville, maybe these are people who like afternoon calls better. Right. And so you need to be on top of that. But for the most part, I got my VAs dialing in the afternoon because I get better responses, more responses that way. But I'll call all day. I'll call all day long.
What's a
on
cutoff
weekend.
time?
On a Saturday, 8 o'clock. I always cut it off. I won't go. Really, I cut off at 6. But if it's like a time where I'm like, dang, we ain't got a deal, and like if it's been a while and like, man, we need to cut it up, I'll go to 8. But I won't go past 8. But I will go hard until 8. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, but I usually cut it off at 6. So I have my VAs come in from 2 to 6, and that's just a 4-hour stretch. And if you could cut, block out like at least 4 hours a day for the dialer. If you get a dialer 4 hours a day, boy, you on your way. You on your way with 4 hours a day. Man.
Cool. I think that's helpful.
6 is my cutoff time too.
6 is a cutoff
But
time.
again, if you're really ready, you like, man, I just need a deal now. I need to get one. I'll go to 8, real top. But no later than that. I think they got like laws that you can't call people past 8 o'clock. And so that's why I ain't trying to I don't want to harass people, man. Go to bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as for the seller, like I don't want to if you got
yeah.
I'm not trying to disturb you too much. But I will say this: I've got some of my I got a 15K calling a person I said from 7 to 8. Like I had something to do, and I was like, man, I only got it was late, and I think I went to go look at a property, and I got back real late, at 6 or after 6. I was like, man, I usually get out of the dialer. Man, I'm just gonna hop in a dialer, and it was 7:30. That's a 15K deal right there at 7:30 at night, and you wouldn't even, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't even thought of that. You like, man, I don't need to be calling this late, but it happens. So, and
what
I've
about
got
Sundays?
I really be cool on Sunday. Johnny said he hit it on Sundays. I really be cool as far as calling the sellers on Sunday. But I will just general business, especially if I got a deal that I'm actually working, then there ain't no day, no time of the week. I got a seller, he might call me now. He keep calling me late. I don't know what he got going on. He keep calling me at 10, 9 o'clock. I'm sorry, I hope it ain't too late for you. I'm like, yeah. No, it ain't too late. Real talk, because once I get that paycheck, I'm not gonna be thinking, man, he called me too late. I'm gonna be like, thank you, sir.
I done had a seller who did that same thing because he got off work at 9. Then he had to clean up and get home. So he didn't call me till 10. We talked at 10 o'clock for 4 days straight.
I'm telling you, what I will say this, inbound calls though, when they calling you, it don't matter what time they calling you. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone, because think about this. If they calling you at 10 o'clock at night, they motivated.
Mm-hmm.
They ready to go. If they calling you at 10 o'clock at night, that's the deal right there. Anybody calling you late, it's like, dang, they must really want to sell their house. If they call it at this hour, they trying to get something shaken. So whenever they call, whatever, it's text messages too. Text messages, you can't send out any new text messages past 6. Blast out any new text message. I know we ain't start talking about text blasting yet, but you can't send those out past 6. They got to cut off. But if a seller texts you in at 9 o'clock, you can respond. You can keep that conversation going for sure.
In the Cookeville market, I do agent outreach during the day, and I'll call people in the evening, afternoon, evening.
Got you. So would you say you're better, Ashley, at acquisitions or disposition? Or which, if you had to pick one that you was like, man, you had like a partner that filled in the blanks for you, which one would you like?
I mean, I've spent more time on acquisitions, but I think that I would be just as good at dispositions if I were doing that. Because to me, dispositions is the same as acquisitions in a way, because you're acquiring buyers.
It's very similar, absolutely. And you're negotiating with buyers and you're using
Right.
tactics, and it's a numbers game. It's very similar. Very similar. It's a different beast, but it's similar. It's like the difference between a lion and a tiger. Real talk.
Yeah.
Fight.
But I mean, I could talk to people all day, probably too much so, but I'm great at building relationships with people like off the rip. And there's a lot of blue collar in Cookeville, and I can relate to blue collar because I've been blue collar, you know. And anyways, I'm able to work it really quickly.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Okay. And the last question for you guys, Thomas and Nate, who's the acquisitions, who's the dispo? I don't know if you have thought about splitting it up like that.
Yeah, I've been
I want to ask the question to kind of plant the seed in y'all heads, because the basic principles of a partnership is if y'all don't want to get together just so y'all can both do the same thing.
Right.
That's like, there's really no point in that. The basic principle of a partnership, whether it's business partners, whether it's husband and wife, whether it's teacher and student, like the teacher can teach, but the student needs to learn, and they don't really coexist unless they have each other. You know what I mean? And so have y'all thought about like, okay, I'll do this, this, and this, and then you do this, this, and that, or how y'all split it up?
We haven't really split anything up. Your acquisition would be grabbing the seller, right?
Yeah, getting them actually under contract is getting a seller under contract. Dispo is getting a buyer for that contract.
I've gotten the closest. I don't want to say I'm the best because
Right.
we haven't had too many chances, but yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, we've mostly just been trying to learn together and like get like, say he'll do a couple calls while I'm right next to him, like trying to like actually like get the reps in a little bit. But we have talked about like splitting the state in a way, like I'll do like the top half of Florida, you'll do the bottom half of Florida, whatever. But yeah, we're still in the beginning stages. We haven't really separated too much yet.
So when you say that one of you is picking the top half of Florida, the other one the bottom half, do you guys have like maybe 3 specific markets that you want to target? It's a little hard when you spread yourself out around a bunch of different areas. I think it's great to spread yourself out, to be looking in different areas, but kind of trim it down to a few that you can stay focused on and learn about that market. Whatever you do, don't give up, because the fact that you guys are even thinking about doing this puts you 10 steps ahead of a W-2 employee. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Florida too, is that Florida is pretty like spread out as well. Like for the top half of Florida, you have like Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Orlando,
Yeah,
and then
I'm in
if you were to pick
Jacksonville.
the bottom half, yeah, if you were to pick the bottom half, he has Tampa, Miami, and like Delray Beach area. So we have like those specific markets as well. We just kind of general idea. I get top half, he gets bottom half, whatever.
I got you.
But
So you're saying you have markets and top, markets and bottom, and you'll rotate
Absolutely.
those out. And do you target areas that are like 50-mile range outside of those bigger cities? Because
absolutely, yep. Try to stay in those suburban areas and everything, but yeah.
Do you who I guess who does any of y'all have more or less experience talking to people or sales or anything like that, like with a background? No.
Nope,
So
not at all. We
y'all
both
still
kinda
both
got
trying to
the
figure
same
out
thing.
who has what strengths, kind of. Y'all just kinda through it.
They just graduated high school. They was on the girls before they got to this first.
Who was talking to more girls? Who was talking to more girls?
yeah, there you go.
Said, that's why
He was talking to more girls? Okay, so he's your acquisitions right there.
Yes.
Look.
That's your
That's not
acquisitions
true.
right there.
Because this
Hey,
will
but
talk to just as many people. And that's why I said I asked the question, assuming that you guys were pretty much even, but I wanted to plant the seed because I've worked with partners. LT, he has a partner and everything. And again, can keep this in mind. You know, assuming that $1 million a year or $1 million a month, however y'all want to do it, you're running it like a business at that point. And in the business, everybody's not doing the same thing. You go to McDonald's, there's a fry guy, there's a guy who makes the burgers, there's a guy who works at the window, and there's a guy who's working the front register. They're not all doing the same thing. And so you could split, and that's why I say I want to prevent y'all, because I work with a partner. I don't want y'all all doing the same thing, because then at that point, you're going to cross wires. And it's just something to think about for the future. Then it's going to be like, well, whose job was it to do this? Well, whose job was it to do that? And so maybe instead of just splitting markets, maybe one of y'all is the guy who I'm calling buyers all day long, because two heads is better than one. Y'all got more energy. One guy's calling and talking to sellers all day long, and the other one's talking to buyers all day long. And the point of it, you want to be good. You want to be good at what you do, and you don't know nothing, not necessarily nothing about what he do, because you might want to help him out, and you know what I mean. You're going to have to understand the business, but he needs to be good at what he does, and I'm good at what I do, right? And so one guy needs to be talking to the buyers, and to the point where, let's say Thomas, you got acquisitions down pat. You got a seller, you could just throw it over to Nate, and Nate's like, yeah, I got a buyer for that. Like, you want that system to run like that. If y'all both calling, y'all both doing acquisitions, you split it up. Then once it come time to dispo a property, who do you go to? Then y'all both just as equally disproportionate. You know what I mean? Or at the very least, when you're both doing the same thing, just in a separate market, you're still doing the same thing. And then it's like, well, there's stuff that needs to get done that neither one of us are improving on a consistent basis. And so when you've got, that's why I keep saying, and I'm putting this out there, and if y'all find somebody, I'm looking for a dispo manager. I'm looking for a dispositions person to add to my team. So if you guys know somebody, send them my way.
Ashley. I sneezed.
I mean, I
My bad.
thought about it too.
Oh, you're saying Ashley.
I heard because I heard the question, and I heard him put it out there in the back of my mind. I was like, yeah.
I knew what he was doing
Trying to
because
see
I
what's
was on the
going
last
on.
call.
Trying to
But-
see what's happening.
I just sneezed. I don't even I had to sneeze.
Yeah, you gotta get you get you
Ashley-
some Benadryl or something, man. Damn.
Oh, listen, actually, just put in your application. If it's you, then put in your application. It's a 2-question application. Can you do dispo, and when can you start? Just
Well, I started to say, Cordero, I don't apply.
don't apply.
No, I don't apply for jobs. I get recruited. So
Shit.
We don't recruit
I mean,
here.
we just started a call now. We just started. We just started. Welcome to the chat.
No, seriously. If you guys know, anybody, and I just put that out there in general. If you guys know anybody who seriously wants to be a dispo manager, I'm asking everybody. You know what I mean?
well, seriously, Cordero, I would spend a couple hours of my day. I do not have a W-2 job. So I focus a lot of my time on this. I do my driving for dollars from like 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. I'm back up at 7 a.m. and doing it all over again. So I don't mind spending a couple hours dispoing for you. And if it brings you some benefit, then
It's pulling for y'all.
Listen,
It's a team. It's a team.
Any person that brings me benefit, it brings them benefit as well. Because
Yes.
oh, absolutely. I wouldn't do it if I wasn't getting
Everybody
something
eats.
out of it.
There's no me and team.
Everybody eats for sure. But yeah, we can definitely talk about that. But
Yeah.
that in general though, like seriously, like Ashley's great. Ashley is great. But if you know somebody else who's like, man, I've been doing dispo for a long time and I need a different partner, or they're like, man, I do this, but I just want to.
Are you looking for a 50-50 partner or a actual manager who works under you?
That's a good question, but a dispo manager, honestly.
Okay.
But again, just the way my Podio is set up, we'll basically just throw them in Podio. But again, we can talk about that. Actually, we can reach out. If you can bring 50-50 partnership benefits, then we can discuss a 50-50 partnership. I'm looking for a dispo manager. But if that dispo manager comes with a lot of other things, they come with a massive buyers list that I don't have myself and just a know-how, I'm like, dang, definitely worth 50-50. We're equally yoked then for sure. But I'm just looking for a dispo manager as of right now.
I
But I
gotcha.
would say this for you guys, Nate and Thomas, that's definitely so. I just want to plant the seed. Keep that in mind as you guys are going forward, trying to get to your first. Maybe it'll be like probably after y'all get y'all first deal, y'all got a little bit of money. Y'all split it down the middle or however y'all do it. And you're like, okay, now we need to start thinking about taking this to the next level. Now we need to start getting a dialer and to all the stuff that they told us about. Then I think focusing on getting specific. Like I talk to the buyers. And after you go through that first deal, you guys are both going to learn a lot. Like who steps up to the plate when it comes to the buyers. And you're like, okay, well then that's your lane, bro. You did very well right there. That's your lane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'll learn a lot the more you do. But that's
Yeah.
something to think about.
And I got something to add here too, because I think a lot of things that I hear big people talk about is that no matter how big you get, you're going to have discouraging days. There's going to be days where you're over it, right? So I can tell you something I started practicing now just to get a yes. If a yes is what I'm looking for, I'm calling like brand new photographers in the area just to see if they would be willing to take photos, like either headshots or photos of properties that I got under contract so that I can professionally present that property and maybe give them a cut of the deal. Like I'll give you 10% or I'll give you, and we can kind of work out some sort of partnership that way. Just by me leveraging people who can help with other things, contractors, building relationships with people who could help my business in the future.
Mhm.
So if you
Nice.
need a yes is out there. You just got to find it. And
I like
on bad days, I
yeah.
get a yes.
Like
I will
you
get a
get
yes.
the momentum going. Like
Yeah.
get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's real talk. Like I said, I recommended the 10X rule to you guys, especially because you're just starting and you'll realize Grant Cardone talks a lot about that. You need the momentum. You need people kind of downplay taking wins and W's like it's nothing, like whatever. But once you feed off those wins, when you get that first deal, don't sit back and be like, oh, I got my first deal. Let me chill, go on vacation. Take it and run with it and go to your next one and ride that wave that W gives you. And so a small yes could steamroll, like, snowball its way into, a $20,000 deal or something like that. You know what I mean? And so if that's what it takes to get the momentum in the right direction, reach out to somebody you'll get a yes from, I guess is what Ashley's saying. And then take that yes and keep going. But, one thing I like to do is just jump off in that dialer and just go until I get that first yes.
Ain't no lie. The E-Myth, I started that book.
It's such a good book.
I didn't finish it yet. I'm probably like, I don't know, a quarter.
So
of the
what
way
are
through.
you? What
What am
role are
I?
you? Yeah.
Technician.
I
for
feel
sure.
I feel like I'm a technician for sure, like
He's a
100%.
technician.
I feel like,
Trying to get that
but
one.
it's just think the way that so far, it's definitely changing the way that I'm thinking and approaching
Yeah, because and look,
approaching
I know this is like way out there from where people are and where we should be mindset wise, but just acquiring businesses. Like we're talking about acquiring properties. We could just as easily be acquiring businesses, like businesses that have
each property is its own bit. We're talking
Its
about
own bit,
wholesaling
right.
properties. But if you buy a property, it is a business. But to your point, you're right.
Yeah,
And
there actually are brokerages. Like we go to Zillow or whatever to
Yeah.
look at properties. You can actually go to a website to look at businesses that have been around for more than 10 years. So they've made it through that threshold of all the risks that it took to get to that point. And you could go in and you could buy that business on creative, no money out of your pocket. So I relate this back to the E-Myth because yes, we're all technicians. Yes, we all need to be savvy in technology and acquiring properties and salesmen, all that. But are you a manager? Are you great at operations? Like, what are your skill sets that could bring value to a business in a way that maybe that's another way you get steady cash flow coming in? I'm great at operations, I'm very structured. I'm very detailed. I'm going to make sure and I'm consistent. So I think, expectation wise, I know what I could bring to the table. I'm also an ideas person. I'm great ideas, but I may not be the person that's great at the contracts or the paperwork, or, I'm more of a hands-on go and do kind of person.
Right.
Well, I brought it up just so that I want them to take a look at it because I think maybe that might help them maybe narrow down the roles.
Right. I
Yeah.
think going down the roads, that's why, you know, like I said, I was planning to see, but I think 10X might help them just because if you're going from absolutely like they had zero, done no deals, and just kind of like, and we might just be information overload for them right now. I hope it's
Yeah.
For sure.
you know,
For
just something
sure.
like just let it fall and then like you'll be able to think back when you actually come across, you like, man, he did say something about asked him about price, time, motivation, and condition. He did say that. That might stick with you. That might resonate with you. But I think the 10X rule is just going to give you that mentality of like, whether I'm doing it right, wrong, perfect, imperfect, just go. That's what the 10X rule is going to show you. But then once you get some traction and you start getting the ball rolling, the E-Myth Revisited is going to make you rethink, because a lot of us get into this. I think we don't just get into this thinking, I want to wholesale, but I want to own a business. I want to work for myself.
Being an entrepreneur. Yep.
I'll be an entrepreneur. But the E-Myth Revisited is the E is in that is the entrepreneurial myth revisited. Because a lot of people, especially myself, if I had read that book years ago, it saved me years. You know what I mean? But especially myself think, oh, because I can do this, I could be good at business. And I wasn't thinking about it the right way. And I read that book and that taught me to like go back and literally I had to tear the whole house down just to redo the foundation. And the foundation of how you do something determines what you can do with it, period. Like the house that I'm in right now, I couldn't put a skyscraper on this foundation because it wasn't built for that. So if I wanted to actually put a skyscraper, I would have to tear down everything that's here and restart over from the very beginning. And so that's why I'm telling you, especially while y'all at the beginning, if y'all want to go to do $1 million a year, $1 million a month, or however, whatever y'all want to do with this, y'all need to build a foundation for that in the beginning. So think about who's going to do what, because it's not going to be as simple as, well, we'll just figure it out as we go once you start to do a lot of volume.
That's all. Yeah.
The E-Myth Revisited is definitely a good book to check out, but check out the 10X rule first. But that's why I was saying, like, when you asked me, LT, when's a good time to call? And I was saying, like, you need to know, like, maybe in this particular market, you calling at this time, but over here in Cookeville, I'm calling at a different time. That's entrepreneurial thinking. I'm not actually doing the calling. That's technician thinking. And me still hitting the dialer, that's technician thinking. But when I step back and I'm the entrepreneurial, I'm the CEO, I'm actually thinking what works best. And then I'm having somebody else do it for me. And I'm helping them. I'm teaching them, showing them how I need to do it. I'm able to articulate that to them the proper way, show them the vision and everything else. Who, not how. That's another good book. But again, I could just.
Well, that's why, I mean, I had, he dropped off. I had Caesar on before. He was one of the guys that we just started. So I wanted to kind of get him. So I'm still, working on my stuff, but trying to get him incorporated because he's a lot less experienced with just talking to people than I am, and maybe even Jimmy is. But are you, Johnny, how are you going to do this? Like, are you going to share this thing, or like, how are you I know you ain't putting the whole thing on YouTube, but like,
I'm putting the whole thing on YouTube.
you putting the whole.
You're gonna burn it tonight.
3 hours, 4 hours.
Yeah, it's gonna take you 3 days to upload.
I got time.
I was just curious. Well, because you clipped the last one. That's why I was asking.
For a short though,
Started
right?
recording at the end of the last one. Actually,
what portion of this you want me to clip for short?
No. I don't want you to do what you do, and I'm just curious to know what what the format is and what the what I'm saying, like what you
I'm recording all these and I'm gonna put the entire thing on YouTube. Then I'll go through and probably find a portion of you and Cordero's call and make a short out of it. That's probably exactly what I'm gonna do.
Well, make sure you tag all of us.
Yeah.
On what?
I was about to say, you can't tag me.
On what?
I know.
On what?
That was a push. That was a push for LT to get his YouTube going.
And
Absolutely. So yeah, so Thomas and Nate can go back and rewatch this.
yeah,
Just pick apart. And I already know how it go. Like, you could tell me stuff all day long. Like all the books I'm telling you, like 10X Rule, I've read that over 10 times. Like you ain't gonna read it. I don't think you could, maybe you a genius or something. I can't read it one time.
no.
Oh no, because you're at different stages in your life. You're going through different things at different times where something's going to speak to you. And a book is not a good book unless you can get something different out of it 10 different times.
Every time. And you're right. That part where like you at a different point in your life, you've experienced stuff, you've actually, especially with this wholesale business stuff. A lot of
Mm.
stuff that I used to
Yeah.
hear about business, I'd be like, yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But when I actually got there and experienced it, I was like, wow, okay, it's different. It resonates, it hits different now that
Yeah.
I'm actually in the thick of it. So again, Nate and Thomas, everything that we telling y'all is like, yeah, oh, that's cool information. But then once y'all start doing it and committing, you're gonna be like, dang, they was talking some heavy stuff right there. You know what I mean? So appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody for
So
coming on.
I
Yeah,
appreciate y'all, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, and hey, if y'all have any questions or you feel like we talked about something you didn't quite understand, I am available anytime. And I put my phone number out there. I'm pretty sure it's on all of my social medias, but if you're in the group chat, it's in there. You can call me anytime. I'm new to this too. So, and I'm not somebody that's going to act too proud. I want to talk to everybody. I want to have my hands in everything. I know that's probably not what many people think is a good idea, but
I'm down
I'm
for the
not
role
gonna point
play.
any
I'm down for
fingers
the role
or
plays.
anything.
Just
Hey,
saying.
but on a real note though, I really appreciate y'all making this happen. We've been on here for I haven't even been looking at the time because I've been having so much fun. So we'll be
At
back
least
here
3.5
for sure,
hours.
y'all.
As
Uh,
a FYI.
like 3 people texted me and said, "Hey,
3
I can't
hours.
do it today." We've been on here for 4 hours.
It's
At
4
yeah,
most,
and
hours?
hey,
I
a
told
lot
you.
of a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of the
yeah, it's 4 hours.
conversation,
That's crazy.
a lot of the conversation that was going on earlier in Podio or not Podio in what is
StreamYard.
StreamYard?
StreamYard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
There was so much I was trying to say, but Johnny had me backstage because he could. I guess you can only. I was like, dude, get me out of here because I'm going crazy. I want to say something.
Yeah.
I mean, I do appreciate the guy Andy. He was like, man,
Yeah,
he
yeah, I
was like, I
thought so
appreciate you
too.
putting yourself out there. And cause you asked Johnny, man, I was really hard on myself over that call. And we even role played again while I
Yeah.
was picking my kids up from school. But I mean, not from school, from the bus stop. But no, I definitely appreciate the group and the feedback and everything. Like, so
LT, I thought you did an amazing job on your phone call. Don't beat
Yeah.
yourself up. Everybody's going to be their own worst critic,
You
but you
cold.
got.
Bro,
no,
see,
it was more along the lines of like, man, I've
you
made
talking about
so
that first one with the other dude?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's cool. He's cool, and I really would like to have him on. But he was like being
He's getting
that's
on.
not
No,
real.
he'll be here.
He was being unnecessarily he wasn't doing what a real seller would do. Like there's something he was just trying to challenge you for the sake of challenging you and trip you up for the sake of doing it. But a real seller, like he was bringing in stuff that I really heard, but then I was like, what a real seller would have definitely said this. If they said
Oh,
this,
I missed that. God
and
damn
he
But
was
see,
it.
I
just
was,
saying random
but
stuff.
even so, I felt like I still definitely should have handled that better than I did. But like I was telling Johnny, like I was at the point, and even sometimes right now, like I still be at the point where sometimes I'll get too in my head when I'm
You're doubting yourself too much.
like I'm trying to think about the process of the deal. Like if it's like a car deal or something, and I kind of know where I need to get to, and I know where I'm at, it's easier for me to just like get from point A to point B. Even if they try to throw me over something, it's easier with this one since I haven't fully been through the whole process yet, or even
Yeah.
like made an offer, contract, none of that stuff. So in my mind, I'm still like, all right, where am I at? Like, where do I need to be? Like, instead of just keeping it simple and not overcomplicating things on myself and just focusing on what needs to happen, what I need to get out of the conversation. You know what I'm saying? I just got too much in my head.
LT,
So
bro, hit me up, and I'll like what we can do is we can link up like we did, and I can walk you through like the whole deal, like a whole real deal, so that way you can get perspective. Because that's
yeah,
what you're trying to figure out. is
yeah,
like
exactly,
Yeah,
as
exactly,
far as
I
conversation.
exactly.
I
And just-
understand that.
And again, anybody, like Ashley said, I'll talk with anybody. Like, I didn't consider myself a veteran until I realized, like, dang, I have done a few
He's
deals.
the vet.
And those
I
people
told
ahead of
him
me,
he's
you
the
always,
vet.
Hey, in this group, if you've done more than 3 deals, you're a veteran.
oh, we out of there. We don't know,
There you go.
But it doesn't mean we can't get there too. And also, LT, I just wanted to add, I'll get on a phone call with you with a seller. I've offered this
Oh,
on
yeah,
Facebook
nah.
before to people who are like, oh, I never could do that. So I've said, look, I'll get on a 3-way call with you with the seller. And when you get quiet and you're not saying anything, I'll start going, you know?
But see, that's the thing. If I'm on a phone with a seller, not that it never happens, but it's rare that I just get stuck or just not talk or not say anything or just get caught. You know what I'm saying? Get
Probably
caught up
when
You
like
think
that.
it's just, you
when
think it's
get to
just
that
the
number,
group
huh?
and the,
So it was, to me, it was partially the group, and then I'm trying
Yeah.
I'm trying to assess the situation, the deal, like all of it. I'm trying to like do all of it at the same time.
you were
and then I'm-
nervous because it was like
yeah,
in the
and it was
group
just,
and
it
on
was all like right
I
there. So
gotcha.
I'm like, wait,
I
all right,
started
what
to
am I-
say, ain't no way you got a voice like that and you don't know how to talk to people.
I'm telling.
he's
I'll
cold, bro.
accidentally just get into a conversation with people and just have like a
Yeah.
whole
You don't
conversation.
know because you don't have that perspective. You don't realize exactly how good you are at this. Like, and I've been doing it for a while. I'm like, yo, bro, you cold. Just off the strength of just like, you're the type of person that when when people start building their business out and they go from like, okay, I got VAs to do like the basic stuff, but I need American people to like actually put on like, okay, you acquisition, you get 10%, like they give you actually a portion of every deal or whatever it is, 10%, 20, 30%, whatever. You're the type of person that they would bring in. These are the two places that they pull people from: car dealerships and the military. Those are the two places. One, the car dealerships, because you got experience with sales. The military is because these people, ex-military, these people are structured.
Discipline, yeah. Discipline. Hella discipline.
They're gonna work
Yeah.
better. And this
Sure.
isn't me. This isn't like something. These are from like real, like my cash buyers. These are millionaire people. Also, if y'all don't know millionaires, like people who touched $1 million in some way, shape, form, either cash or net worth or whatever, go reach out to some. A lot of the cash buyers, build a relationship with them. They'll have you thinking different, just easily. They don't, what I'm saying, they'll have you thinking different. But yeah, they always hire military or ex car dealership people, because y'all so good with the sales in the car dealership and good with the structure in the military and just discipline. But yeah, if anybody needs anything, please hit me up. Ashley, I will hit you up. I'll have my recruiter reach out to you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you see what he did there? Yeah, I didn't catch it. Yeah, I didn't peep what he did. I caught it though. I caught it
I
though.
saw what he did.
I ain't peep it.
I'm a recruiter.
You ain't peep it? Oh, damn, Johnny.
I was a little late, bro. Yeah. It's still the allergies going around.
Nah, I
bro.
feel you.
I'll have my recruiter definitely reach out to you about that in regards to that. And then we'll set up an interview.
I like
That
that.
sounds good.
I like that. I like that.
As a matter of fact, I'm gonna have my recruiter reach out to all y'all. I'm not above like trying to get all of y'all on my team to work for me. I'm gonna have
Oh
Nate
God, yeah.
and Thomas
Interviews.
and LT and Jimmy and Johnny. Like, we can build a business. You know what I mean? I'm not above that, but
That's what I'm
respect
saying.
what everybody's got going on. So, but we could be nationwide on your side. But
Nah,
yeah,
that's
I
a
appreciate
fact.
everybody.
I'm
If
with
I got
that.
any questions,
Nah, I'm with that.
especially Nate and
Definitely
Thomas,
with that.
like,
Nate
for sure.
Thomas, I went to USF for a year. I got into a lot of trouble out there. I might have some C's running around there somewhere. Don't worry about that. Listen, just
Hey,
whenever
as long
y'all
as you didn't steal any steaks
whenever-
from the grocery store.
listen, whenever y'all get on, man, or even before y'all get on, whatever the case is, man, for real, just hit us up, hit me up.
Yeah,
I'll reach out to
anytime, like,
y'all.
just, you got my number in the group chat. So if it comes to a point where you're like confused, you don't know how to send out a contract, or a seller asking you questions, again, be like, that's a good question. Let me ask my manager. If you can't go ask your cash buyer, if you don't have a relationship like that, you just need some info, just text me or call me or whatever, bro. Like, I'm all for trying to get you.
You can call anybody in that group me. And hey, use the group me. This is group chat dead. Use the group me. Come on.
Absolutely.
Kill the group chat.
Worked hard on that, man.
Yeah, you put in a lot of work, man. You doing your thing. You doing
Hey,
your
yeah.
thing over here.
And I know it was mentioned in the last, like, before you got the Zoom going, but I know probably most of everybody in this group would be willing to contribute. And like LT was saying, because I think that's when it broke out after LT made his comment, I was gone from the
I
group.
don't
But
want no money from anybody. Don't contribute to nothing.
Hey,
Look, the way
no,
I got
listen.
I got a checking and a savings.
listen, Johnny, it doesn't, this is not about you as much as you want to make it about
I
you.
got a
It's
checking and a
about,
savings, Johnny. The way it's set up. The way it's set up right
I'm
now.
doing this for y'all. This ain't about me.
I'm just saying
Oh.
this.
Look, it
benef-
take 3
listen, I'm just
business
messing with you,
days.
but listen.
3 business days. for the
Listen.
transfer.
All right, Kevin Hart.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying also that this benefits everybody in this group. This is bringing value to everybody. So
So can out of the niceness of my heart, could I not just, can y'all just not worry about it and just enjoy
but
it?
out of the niceness of your heart, you need to give all of us a tax break because whatever we give to you to pay for this, we're going to claim.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do y'all have-
I don't know about that, but I mean, I think you have to kind of open your mind up, to the point of being, you got to think, even the biggest of YouTube channels or whatever, they open up a Patreon and all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
if you want to,
All right, so I'm gonna build
listen.
all y'all then. All right, bet. Since y'all want to
Nah, build Ashton.
3 business days. 3
Hey,
business
hold on,
days.
Right, that's
Ashton.
right, Johnny. Just bill me, and
3 business
find me a
days,
buyer
man.
for this stupid house in Cookville.
Oh yeah. Send me that information over too, please.
I
Ashton.
will.
Look,
I
the way
will.
my bank account, y'all ain't hand me the first one.
Thank
What
y'all.
I
I appreciate
said.
y'all.
Yeah,
y'all.
thank
I'm gonna
you.
hang up on y'all. Everybody
Thank
have
you,
a
guys.
wonderful night.
Bye, guys.
All right, y'all.